This episode currently dressed by Vision Attire, our clothing brand sponsor, who have kindly dressed me today. They do active wear for men and women and competitive wear for men in all categories. Go to visionattire.com.au and check them out. Use discount code MuscleTalks15 for 15% off every order. Portion, 100% natural Australian-made single protein dog food company. Go to portion.com.au. Use MuscleTalks25 for 25% off your first order, and MuscleTalks10 for all orders, 10% off all orders after that. And Primabolics, Australia's favourite supplement company, proteins, pre-workouts and more. Go to primabolics.com.au and use discount code MuscleTalks15 for 15% off your order.
All of us want the most results with probably the least amount of effort. Some people go to the gym as a punishment, as I have to do this work. If you love training, how can you limit yourself to 3-4 days a week, 45 minutes? Because, okay, less is better. Some days I would go to sleep and I would dream my workout. I was excited. I couldn't wait to get in a gym and do my training. I knew I have no chance of winning Mr. Olympia and all that. A lot of people say, why did you compete? I never competed against other guys. I competed against myself. Genetically, we are individually all different, right? So now you're going to throw that in to confuse people. Protein is protein, okay? That assumption you cannot absorb more than 30 grams per sitting, or some stupid things that you hear throughout life, right? And now there are this study, I don't need a double-blind university study to tell me that water is wet. What the hell diet? You're supposed to know what protein does. Take as much protein as you want. Anybody that is listening, take as much protein as you want. I don't count the calories from protein. Obviously, 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. And if I had 500 of them, that's 2,000 calories. Those calories are not my energy calories. I don't want to burn them. I want to insert them. And we talk about this training to the failure, and I'll never forget when he just asked me, look at me straight in the eyes, why would you want to fail in anything? 72 pro shows, but I did also 38 amateur. And I was the guy that is in shape year round, because I'm not the bodybuilder for a season, I'm bodybuilder for life.
No plan B, academic, sport, left university to follow a dream. US visa in a year. The art of achieving his lifetime goal, Mr. Universe dream. 72, I'll say that again, 72 pro shows, 10 consecutive Olympias. Almost the biggest, the most talked about bodybuilding lineup ever seen in the bodybuilding era back in the 90s. He's finally back training in 2025. His legs were once a prize. I'm going to ask him about that now. A true European that likes his salt. Please help me welcome Milos Sarcev.
Well, thank you for having me. I say it's muscle talks, but we started with everything else except the muscle. Yeah, first, it was good to see Chris, my Yugoslavian Macedonian friend.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And I'm delighted to talk to Australian people, because I don't know if you're aware of, my first training partner was Samoan Australian Sonny Schmidt.
No way, really? Go on.
Yeah, it was my roommate for like 5 years, and we trained together, traveled together. I mean, God bless his soul. I love you, brother Sonny. But yeah, so I have a special connection with Australians. I've been to Australia several times. I do think that people from Australia are just next level, beautiful, good, friendly. I mean, there is no way that anybody goes to Australia down under and doesn't feel that warm welcome of the people. Every time I went there, every time I enjoyed it fully.
Yeah, well, look, you are a fan favorite in the bodybuilding era, bodybuilding family here in Australia, and people, especially, I can tell you now, the 90s, I think firstly it touches the whole world, but in Australia, the 90s was a very significant year for a lot of Australian bodybuilders. I think you even competed against Terry Mitsos. Do you remember Terry Mitsos?
Terry Mitsos, Adrian Bato, John Terrilli,
Yes.
And then, like I said, Sonny Schmidt, my first pro show, very first, which I decided to enter like on a 17-day notice because I was, that was, I can tell you this quickly. My father had a stroke, and I went from U.S. to be in Serbia, Yugoslavia at the time, with him. And basically, I didn't know if I'm going to come back on time, and he was recovering. And then he told me that he's okay, that I can come back and pursue my life. And I had that possibility to go to San Jose as I was pro bodybuilder. It didn't cost much to travel from San Diego to San Jose. I went there not really thinking I can do much. I just wanted to test the waters. I wanted to see where I stand next to the, big champions. There was Ron Love. There was Albert Beckless, John Brown, who was my idol back in the day, because he came to Yugoslavia and did the guest posing 1983, which I remember day after I was released from the army. And after I saw him pose in front of 7,000 people that he brought the house down, I said, like, this is what I want to do. Wow. And then I've seen a Yugoslavian bodybuilder by the name of Slobodan Blagojevic, who was very young at the time, and he looked almost as good as John Brown. I mean, unbelievable. So when I've seen potential that Yugoslavian guy can look like that, I say, okay, this is what I want to do too. To make long story short, I went to San Jose. And I don't know if you watch many shows, especially back in the day, in 1990s, they had a symmetry round, muscularity round, and then posing round in the afternoon with confirmation for top 6. So I was just there, happy to be there, hoping that my friend can take some pictures. And I'm going to stand next to somebody important. Yep. And I was really, I was number 2. And I was in between Tim Belknap, who won the big contest in Yugoslavia that I watched him in the 80s, and Albert Beckless. Now, Albert Beckless placed second to Lee Haney at Mr. Olympia. I mean, the legacy that he had, it was just so funny thing is that I didn't know how pro shows are going. So for a symmetry round, I was called out for a first comparison with Ron Love and Sonny Schmidt. But my name is very hard to be pronounced properly, Milos Sarcev. Yeah. Whatever the guy was saying, it didn't sound like me. So I keep posing for a picture for my friend in the audience. And there was like that weird quietness, So the guy called my name like 3-4 times, and I didn't respond. And Ron, Love, and Sonny were in the middle. So finally he screamed, competitor number 2. And then I realized, oh my God. It was me. So I won symmetry round in my first show. Yep. And I placed 3rd behind Ron and Sonny, and I qualified for Mr. Olympia on my pro debut, which was winning the lottery times 10. I mean, it was just like unbelievable. So I don't want to maybe go too far, but then again, I think maybe some people are going to be interested. When you're a starving bodybuilder, and I really had no money. Yep. So like I said, the only reason why I went to this show, because San Diego, San Jose, it's not expensive, plane and hotel. It's okay, I'm going to invest in this. But then I got $3,000 for 3rd place. And I felt like, oh my God, now I can travel to the next shows. So I went to Niagara Falls. And I think, that was when I met everybody. Terry Mitzis was there, and Adrian Bato, and Sonny was going to each and every show. And then I went to Night of Champions, and then the European Grand Prix Tour. Anyway, Sonny was very, very specific, right? Beautiful body, actually one of those unbelievable aesthetic and massive, and consistent. But he was a man of the very few words. He didn't talk to anybody. And I'm usually like this, that I just keep bugging people, and So everywhere we went, I kept talking to him. So finally we struck the friendship, and he asked me if he can come to California and stay with me and train with me, which was for me probably a crucial moment in my career, because I have a training partner crazy enough to train 6 days a week, twice a day, like me.
Yeah.
To diet year round, and then to compete as often as I did.
Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed, who is following us on all platforms, but especially here on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, please, if you could do us a big favor, which helps us reach more people, get better, bigger, greater. We've already had some great guests anyway. Everyone's been a treat. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're notified every week a new podcast that is launched. And I just want to say a big thank you. But again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and enjoy watching Muscle Talks podcasts. It seems that's what I keep hearing. But firstly, John Brown, Shawn Ray speaks about John Brown being his mentor. And I'll tell you a funny story. Apparently, John Brown was not only amazing on stage, he was also amazing in the crowds. He was a real crowd warmer. They loved him. And even to the point, you probably don't know this story because I just had Shawn Ray on, but apparently John Brown said to Shawn Ray, we're going to go see Prince. And Shawn said to him, we don't have tickets. He goes, we don't need tickets. We'll make our way in. So they went to where security was, and John Brown said to the security, we're security for Michael Jackson. Has Michael Jackson arrived? They go, Michael Jackson's coming to the Prince concert. He goes, yes. He goes, well, let me escort you guys in so when he does arrive, you're here on the premises. And they put John and Shawn Ray on the front row to watch a Prince concert.
I'm not surprised. John was a very crafty guy. Like I said, he came to Yugoslavia at the time. And you got to understand that he's the first guy that was coming from the United States into the Europe and doing all this guest posing around Europe and making shitload of money, right? Yeah. And then he has that stage presence. I don't know if you've seen his posings. He teach all of us, Melvin Anthony, Vince Taylor, Shawn Ray, myself, art of posing. And everything about it. So Prince and Shawn and concerts. I know talking to John, he would know in which club, what kind of light is getting at him.
100%.
So where to position himself and, which gestures to make to, grab the attention. He was phenomenal. So anyway, he was at my first show. And like I just right now watched Djokovic play the finals in Miami and lost to the Mansik, Czechoslovakian 19-year-old kid.
Yes.
He mentored back in the day, and Djokovic is his idol. John was my idol. Yeah. So for me, just to be on a stage with him, it was something. And then I actually beat him at the contest. So that was monumental for me. And then I beat Albert Beckless. Oh my God.
Yeah. How does that feel when, firstly, they're your idol? They're the ones that help you get to where you are. And when I just need to know, because I have not been at that level of where you are or any elite athlete, just like Djokovic losing to his protege, Yeah. How does the protege feel? How did you feel beating your mentor? How does the protege feel now? How does this kid feel?
Well, listen, train until your idols become your rivals, right? This is what we all had, but there's a part of sadness. I get the teary eye. That's why I took a little bit more time, to show up here, because I didn't want you guys to see. Because I was super happy for the kid.
Yeah.
Imagine beating your idol, and Djokovic is still at the top of the game. He just made the finals.
Yes.
Right. So it's not like beating the old Djokovic. He's beating Djokovic still. I don't know if I can say at his prime, but he's there. If you make the finals, and you make the finals of a Grand Slam tournaments, we're talking about Australia. He's 11 times Australian.
Yeah. He's got he could run for prime minister here, Djokovic.
Yeah. So I can imagine that there was a part of sadness and extreme happiness for this kid. and I really love it. My heart is filled. Look, I'm a hardcore fan. Serbians, you can imagine.
Yeah.
You know, our teams and our people, we are hardcore fans. But I learned a lesson that if somebody wins, if it's a team or individual, they probably deserve it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. 100%.
so I'm dealing much easier with it. You know, because okay, instead of being a tragical moment and being sad for a week that I used to be, like if my team loses, like don't talk to me, don't say hello, don't do nothing. Right now, I'm completely content because if he managed to beat the best of the best in the finals, in a tie breaks, yeah, you probably deserve it.
What about what's the UFC fighter? Alex
Pereira?
who is it? No, who is it, Chris? Volkanovski.
Volkanovski. I love Volkanovski. Everybody loves it.
Chris is
No,
laughing.
listen, how can you not love Volkanovski? He's the best of the best. I had a chance to be introduced to him, and then I see him a couple of times. I saw him in Abu Dhabi and some other shows here at the Apex. He's very personable. And listen, I mean, he was best of the best. Now, of course, losing that first fight to Islam Makhachev, close fight, which was in Australia. I don't know if you guys went to see it. Jumping up the weight class, going to the lightweights. It was a huge thing, and it was like what 11-day notice. Yeah. So no, the second fight was 11-day notice. I forgot it right now, but either way, I mean, he lost the last two fights. Ilya Topuria also surprised everybody by being able to catch him in that second round. But I think that Volkanovski is still at his prime. I'm going to Miami to watch him.
Yep.
Because I was not going to miss his possible return and reclaiming the title. And I'm going to be there. So I'm sure that everybody in Australia loves Volkanovski.
Well, look, we do, but I know you, can I say it, because Chris is in the room too, you Yugoslavians. And to be honest, I had a Yugoslavian girlfriend at the age of 24. Her name was Susan. No, actually, no. You know what? She was, I don't know what, she was the happiest girl. Happiest.
Yeah.
She had this amazing smile, beautiful nature, and she was quite passionate. I have to say, I enjoyed her immensely. And being 24, and because we like to share funny stories here, and this is like the Tonight Show. It's not all about chicken and rice. We don't want to talk chicken and rice.
Yeah,
but what I want to say is, because I got,
it's not only muscle talks, it's everything.
It's everything talks.
Okay.
It's you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. It's the Tonight Show, and I'm Jimmy Fallon, and you're the guest, and we talk about our lives and who we are, or who you are as a bodybuilder, because many people think you might be something different. You're not human. You're not normal. You don't enjoy sports, or we don't enjoy. Excuse me saying this. The female race, or whoever you are, whatever your sexuality is. But this girl, or animals,
let's put that straight. Let's put it straight. My sexuality is, very much known.
Yes. Well,
one direction.
I know. Apparently, I think I can. I didn't read much, but I feel like, yes, you're quite the romantic, I'm sure. But having said that, and I put that lightly, but what I wanted to say was, because I'm Greek. I got Greek background. I'm actually I'm first generation here. So my mum and dad migrated here. My dad's from an island called Samos, which is very close to Turkey up there. It's one of the greenest islands on the Mediterranean. And my mother is from Tripoli in Greece, not far from Olympia, where they did the Olympic Games on that part of the south. And she lived in the middle of this village around mountains. So my dad was an islander and my mum lived in the heart of the mountains, right? Yeah. And I guess like all parents, when you're young, and I'm sure your parents too, they wanted me to marry a Greek girl. So when I said I was going out with a Yugoslavian girl, they were carrying on so much. And not that I cared, but I guess some of the influence would have been why I didn't continue seeing her. But I was also going to go to Europe for about 3 months. But I do have probably the fondest memories of Susan. She was a lot of fun, meaning she was probably the only girl that was continually smiling, spoke beautifully, very uplifting. I don't know.
Now that you say it, I mean, you spoke so highly of her that I wanted to say, why is she X in that case, right? So I guess you answered by that you traveled, and then, maybe distance made a thing. But yeah, I mean, we are same, Orthodox.
Yes,
Greek
we are
Orthodox.
Orthodox. We are Orthodox, yes.
I think that your parents could, feel good about it anyway.
Yeah. I think that, look, you know what? I think they could have, but they were okay. So since we're talking about the UFC, I know you have an amazing love affair for the UFC. It's amazing you're not a director yet, but you have formed, I believe, a friendship with Dana White. I believe, and I know that you trained him. I think you put him through the ringer, so you gave him a big workout. So tell me about, because I'm also going to go back to your martial arts days. So let's put it in a package. Firstly, tell us about your love affair with the UFC, because it looks like it's just as much as bodybuilding.
Well, actually, let me reverse it. Let me tell you my upbringing.
Yeah.
My father was a doctor, neuropsychiatrist.
Wow.
And he had a friend that was a sensei in a karate club.
Mm-hmm.
So there was obviously martial arts to teach you a discipline. There was something that he directed me there. I didn't choose this originally. And then as I was doing karate, I'm 1964, so that's early 70s, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just for people to realize how far that was, karate was not Olympic sport. So as soon as I found out this, because my burning desire was always I'm big Serbian or Yugoslavian, right away I wanted to pick the sport that I can represent my country, right?
Wow.
And then judo was. So I instantly started training judo as well, right? And obviously there was not anything like mixed martial arts. I'm sure that all of us admired Bruce Lee. I mean, there's not a man alive, probably, especially from that era, that didn't adore Bruce Lee. I watched Enter the Dragon probably like 50 times minimum. I'm not exaggerating. I'm going to tell you, there was old theater in my hometown, Becce.
Mm-hmm.
They would have 2 presentations a day, right? And it was 5 days in a row. And I went to both of them for all 5 days. So I watched it 10 times. And then when he came back, I just watched it like about a year ago here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It was in the movie theater. So Bruce Lee is true pioneer of mixed martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
Even that first scene, if you remember, in Enter the Dragon.
Yep.
They were striking and then end up being a submission. Actually, that submission probably would never work, but for the movie it worked.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember. So this is how it was. Then 1993, when the mixed martial arts guys got together for that UFC, first event of UFC.
Mm-hmm.
If you do remember, I don't know if you are familiar, they wanted to see which martial art would take over. If Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or karate or boxing or judo, or whichever.
Wrestling, you name it, whatever it was.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then end up being that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, submission grapplers would win. Hoist Gracie was winning, and then everybody started training everything. So it's a beautiful sport. Look, I'm not a fighter, and I would probably never do it. Even when I was younger, I would probably not do it, but I enjoy watching it big time. So along the way, I of course, who doesn't know Dana White? He's like, for me, most personable guy ever.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch any of his interviews, he's straight shooter.
Yeah.
Tells it like it is, tells how it feels. There is no ifs or buts about Dana.
No.
So I always wanted to meet him, and then I had the pleasure to befriend Hunter Campbell,
Yep.
chief business officer of UFC, the greatest guy, I would say, my best friend right now that changed my life completely. And then through him, I had a chance to train Dana a few times. I know Dana's trainer, Kevin.
Yep.
And I just kind of introduced my kind of training with, as you know, probably giant sets and that the kind of crazy intensity. I remember first time training Dana.
Yep.
I put like 12 different exercises back to back to back. So just imagine, guy that never did this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I know that, I knew he's a game. He's not going to quit. And I didn't tell him where we start, where we end.
Mm-hmm.
He did everything.
Wow.
And I tell you this, at the day of UFC 300, okay, UFC 300, he wanted to train. So I did a whole body, 30 stations, 10 reps each to honor 300 number, right?
That's the big.
And then we did the 2 rotations. Dana is an animal, I tell you. He's something else. So anyway, this is how I'm involved with the UFC.
Well, I know because you always, you're prominent about showing off some of the fighters, but also you're always at the events. You seem to turn up and and obviously you seem to be there taking photos with a few of the celebrities there, but especially with Dana White. So it seems like he's warm to you. So you wanted to actually, from a young age, you wanted to represent Yugoslavia at the Olympics, correct?
Yeah. That was the hugest thing for me. I don't know, you're Greek and if you're that kind of patriot, but I am for.
I am. Oh. No, I was born in Australia, but I think I'll tell you another funny story. I was born here, but I didn't know how to speak English till I was 5 years old, because my parents spoke to me in Greek before I went to school, meaning as if they were going to talk to me English. They didn't even know how to talk English themselves. So it's funny, but we didn't know how to speak English until I went to kindergarten or whatever you call your first year of school. So we spoke Greek, and I still know Greek. I mean, it's not as great, the writing, but to talk to someone. Yeah. I can go to Greece and speak Greek. There's no issue there. It's not a problem. Yes, go on.
I think that's great that you speak Greek, that they teach you that, because unfortunately I didn't start teaching my daughter Serbian, or my ex didn't teach her Tagalog, Filipino, which we regret. My daughter is in Serbia right now with a grandma, and she speaks very good Serbian now. She can communicate, but I have regret that when she was at early age, I didn't enforce it. And I tell you this, I was in Aruba several times, and in Aruba, all the kids, everybody speaks like 5 languages. That was like crazy. Wow. There's Dutch and English and German and Pamiento, whatever. I mean, it's amazing. And it's like at early age, they accept those languages like so much easier.
Yeah. So I found the post, and it spoke about you growing up in an academic family, right? Academic family, obviously your dad being a doctor. Can I just ask you, is that where you get all your scientific, like you seem to be a person of theory, you seem to be a person of study, you seem to be a person that likes to, and I'm going to say it in layman terms, I don't want to sound too articulate and try to sound too intelligent. My intelligence is at a certain level, but having said that, you want to solve things. You want to find a better way. You also want to prove things. Is this coming from the type of father you had as well?
Yes, I tell you this. First, he was neuropsychiatrist, Dr. Science of Neuropsychiatry,
yeah, there you go.
Highest level. Right? Yeah. And the first thing that he told me that I said, think with your own head. So let's talk about history, right? History is written by the winners. Can you trust it? Until a lion finds out the way to write the books, Hunter wins, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Any story. So, and he told me you can challenge the science, so I do remember when I started bodybuilding, and my father didn't know much about bodybuilding, of course, but he knows medically. everything there is to it, and anatomy, physiology, and all that stuff. So he asked me, can you explain to me muscle hypertrophy, right? So of course, with very limited information back in the day when I started 81, and I actually put it on my Instagram today, I believe, that picture from my 1981 when I was doing a biceps curls with 28 kilos, which is nothing, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't actually do it. So a friend of mine, got me that weight and then run for a camera to take a picture. And I just lowered it to, that picture. If you find it, you can maybe put it on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, my friend was asking me, can you explain how the muscle grows, right? And I said, okay, briefly, just what science was telling us back in the day. Okay, you shock the muscle with training and stimulation, right? You break down the muscle fibers, you tear this, and those micro tears would cause, body to repair, and so you get yourself into catabolic state, and then your body would anabolize, but replenishing everything, glycogen and muscle fibers and all that stuff. So right away, my father just said, so you want to break it down so you can build it back up. So I said, yeah, that's what theory teaches.
Yep.
So he goes, do you agree with that? I was like, well, I don't know. Should I agree or should I not? So he said, I want you to think about it. And then he started with this. Do you understand that the human body, men have 5-6 liters of blood, women maybe 4 or 5, right? Okay, that blood is circulating around and going everywhere. And when you don't use your muscles, it's not much there, maybe 10, 12, 15%, right? Yeah. But when you use, it can be 50, 60, 70% of that blood going there.
Yep.
So did you ever think about when you train and you're sending all that blood there, that maybe you can send something to the muscles? Nutrients, pre-digested, essential amino acids, glucose, whatever, right? And I said, like, wow, no, I didn't. He says, do you understand that every muscle contraction opens up the cell and it's ready for the uptake? I said, no, I didn't know that. Now he got me interested, right? But for some reason, I don't know if that's common in Greek culture and Australia, even here. My father was most educated, the smartest guy that I knew, and I didn't want to listen to him, right? It was kind of like bothering me that when he tells me something, so I said, no. I wanted to do exactly the opposite. But this got my attention, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, listen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of those essential amino acids. I'm going to get some of that glucose, dextrose, that was super cheap powder you can buy in any grocery store. And when I train, I'm going to drink that and see what happens. So you probably are not very familiar with all these principles, but glucose, okay, would increase your blood sugar. Yep. And hyperglycemia is going to trigger insulin release. Insulin is going to go to the blood and take everything that is in a blood and put in the first available, tissues. Yep. Well, when you train, blood is in the muscle, working muscle. So the only place that whatever is in the blood has to go is into the muscle cells. So it's like, holy, this makes a perfect sense. So I started doing this, and I exploded.
Really?
I mean, literally speaking, I want to tell you, when you start bodybuilding, obviously you just follow principles of more is better. I was training 3-4 hours a day, and I didn't have my nutrition. I had my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whatever is served, right? But now when I start paying more attention and I put these nutrients in, I was actually, back in the day when I was completely natural, accused of doing steroids, right? Which nowadays, it's actually the biggest compliment. But
of course
you don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to hear it back in the day, and then you can't convince people. But these are kind of gains I was getting with a principle that he gave me, and I just thought about it and processed. So yeah. I was given that moniker, The Mind, from Flex Editorial, because every time they interview me, I was doing a different interview than everybody else.
Yes.
Not because not to be different. It's just, okay, if you ask me for my opinion, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Hey guys, look at me. Vision attire cap, Vision attire top, Vision attire shorts. I'm wearing Vision attire. Love the fit, love the material, love the look. Vision attire, premium Australian active wear for men and women, including comp day wear for all male divisions. Their men's physique shorts are tailored for the stage with quick dry fabric and a cut that brings out your taper. Visionattire.com.au and use Muscle Talks for 20% off all your orders. The cap, the t-shirt, the shorts, love it. Visit visionattire.com.au and use code Muscle Talks for 20% off all orders. Go now, get dressed in Vision attire.
Anyway,
So you got that from John. Bring your chair up here. I've actually bring actually a family friend of mine and also a big fan of yours. I'll just introduce him quickly. It's the first time we've ever brought a fan into the game, but I'm going to say, John, you want to say hello to Milos?
Milos, kako si?
Dobro sam, kako si?
How are
Drago
you?
mi je. I'm good, or should I say dobro sam?
Dobro si. We're actually we're kind
We don't
of
speak.
close
No,
by
he's Greek as
close
well.
by
He's Greek.
geography, but I'm Greek, so we're next door neighbours.
Okay.
So John, this is great for the podcast. I'll just quickly bring it over. So John watched me bodybuild, right, from a young age, right, and John will correct me if I'm wrong, but John would wonder, why doesn't Steve eat junk food? And I'm 56, Milos. I'm 56 years old. How good do I look 56? Amazing, don't I?
You look like you're 55 at the most.
I should have known. I think I walked into that one.
That's what my father was. That's my father's joke.
No. And so the funniest thing is, I never thought John would take up bodybuilding, but John took up bodybuilding. Like me, never competed, but John created an amazing physique naturally that even I thought he was on the gear. So I used to say to John, I never said to John, I actually just assumed. So just like you, John took bodybuilding seriously, but also naturally seriously. So when I told him I was going to have you on, he said to me, and no one's ever asked, we've never brought a guest in here, us, Chris, we've never brought nobody into the podcast room. And he said, I would love to come and sit in a podcast with Milos. He's, like obviously he's an idol of mine, and I would, be grateful. And I said, John, you're in. So, you
My
want
pleasure, Tom. Yeah, by all means. So, if I understand, you were bodybuilding naturally for a long time, forever? Or?
Yeah, ask the question.
Milos, I think I pretty much started bodybuilding a couple of years before you came to Australia for the 2001 muscle camp with Shawn Ray. And even though it's funny, Shawn was one of my idols growing up, because, as kids, even though I played soccer and tennis, we used to buy muscle mags and see you guys on the front cover and think, wow, like these physiques they're incredible. But also looking at the physiques, being sort of a naive sort of young fella, obviously we didn't know the realm of, steroids and, insulin and all that stuff. But my point is that you guys looked amazing and the physiques looked very attainable, aesthetically pleasing, beautiful lines, the conditioning. And I think that appeal in the 80s and 90s bodybuilders is what gave the sport its foundation today. So there's no doubt you're one of the greats. And after speaking to you at Muscle Camp, I think you're a Gold's Gym. It was a long time ago. I'm showing my age. But yeah, I was fascinated by the things you were saying back then. Even though I sat in on some of Shawn's conversations, a friend of mine, myself and a friend of mine, George, walked away saying Milos is so knowledgeable. It's incredible, and it was a different narrative that you were speaking even back then to whatever was going in the mainstream bodybuilding world. So with sets and reps and stuff like that. And
Look, I want to get in discussion, and I don't force my opinion, right? But I like to hear others. And then when I talk anything, nutrition, training, or with anybody, if we debate, I'm going to go step by step. Now, you mentioned junk food, right?
Yes.
Junk food does not exist in my vocabulary. I, I'm serious. I cannot understand that people would put the garbage in their body,
Yeah.
knowing it's a junk. So the words cheating, oh, you want to cheat yourself? Junk, you want to put the junk in yourself? You are what you eat. I could not, and I'm serious. For me, since I talked with my dad when I started bodybuilding, right? For me, it was okay, nourish the body. It was not, put the calories in, calories out. No. You know exactly what protein does. Once you break down the protein into amino acids, if they're circulating and available at all times, it's going to go to every tissue, enzyme, hormone, whatever, muscle. If you have enough. If you compromise, now you compromise your growth. So first and forever, I had those journals, they're right down here. I wrote every single meal, 8 meals a day, since 1987 to 2003, right? Because I wanted to make sure that, I look every 3 hours. What I'm going to do next 3 hours, what is my caloric intake, what is my nutritional needs, and then, first you listen to the doctors and medical field. You only need like so much protein. You don't need more, right? Says who, right? Less than a gram, and then, okay, maybe a gram. I keep going higher and higher and higher. And I averaged, imagine this, 450 to 550 grams of protein every single day for 15 years straight. Okay. And that goes for all the people. Oh, but your renal system, your kidney is going to be damaged. Really? Yeah. But that's how, some information will come in and then people would say, I don't need it. It's too much and it's too dangerous. Okay. First, it's not too dangerous. That's the only material that builds your tissues. So this is what I covered. So once I covered this, no energy intake. I don't know if you're familiar. I did 72 pro shows, but I did also 38 amateur.
Yeah.
And I was the guy that is in shape year round. Okay? Because I'm not the bodybuilder for a season, when it's a season. Mm-hmm. I'm bodybuilder for life. Yeah. So I did so many guest postings around the world, always in shape. And I did I don't know how many covers and photo shoots. Did you see? I keep posting on I have an endless photo library, right? Which a lot of people say like, oh yeah, you are narcissistic and you're putting aside. No, it's a history. If I have pictures of Shawn and Sonny and everybody else, I put them in. But just to make a little bit shorter, John, so you started naturally, right? And you build your physique because you want aesthetic body like myself, Shawn Ray, and so you were paying attention to your nutrition 100%, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I made it was a lot of trial and error at the beginning, and until I sort of nailed what works for me. And obviously the supplementation was something that I learned along the way, especially from you talking about BCAAs, EAAs, and saturating the muscles with stuff like that, which was
I love this talk.
Super important. And I did it by trial and error. I started off just eating everything and just, assuming when you're younger that all calories are the same. And I always often have this debate on gym floors with just gym rats every day, saying a calorie is not a calorie. I don't believe that anyway. So I took a lot of the protocols that were sort of explained to me also through a friend of mine, through what you did with saturating the muscle with essential aminos and BCAAs, and also Charles Poliquin, also with some of his knowledge as well. God rest his soul. He was, I think he was one of the, apart from yourself, and I'm not just saying that, he's one of the actual extremely important voices in bodybuilding when it comes to nutrition and also mindset. And also, hopefully if we can get into it a little bit later, talking about giant sets and how
Yeah, we can
kind
not
of,
everything.
But just before we go on, enough about Milos. Tell him about me. Well, tell me about what
so
come
with
on, where did it
me,
all start
so
from?
okay,
Come on.
so
I want to hear.
it's-
I want to
it's
hear
quite-
about myself.
it's quite funny because I met Steve. He was dating a cousin of mine, and I'd always see this guy, waxed forearms and
Wax
sort
the
of
whole body.
yeah. Well, I never got to find that out, thank God. But I went over Steve's house. I was into my music and sort of a musician, so I was always fascinated by bodybuilding. I was also a soccer player as well. So when I go over to Steve's house and watch him cooking this wok and vegetables, steamed chicken, rice, and I'd say, how do you what is the purpose of this, and why are you so regimented on eating this stuff like 7 or 8 times a day? And obviously he said to me, in order to maintain his physique, and he was quite ripped at the time, I can't afford to eat any, calories that are bad for me. And I said, well, we used to go out and I say, have a burger, have fries, and he'd be so disciplined. And from that, I sort of started. He actually inspired me from just that discipline alone to start. I didn't train. I didn't take up the sport till around 28, 29 because I played soccer relatively competitively. So, but it always resonated with me that the discipline and the eating clean and obviously the calories.
Not eating cake.
And not going to birthdays and not eating cake. This is the kind of discipline that, when you say I never ate junk food, it makes so much sense to me, because to compete that many times back to back and to do that many exhibitions and competitions and always be in shape was something that used to blow my mind about you. Whereas other bodybuilders off season, Lee Priest, who is one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time as well, he would blow up considerably on the off season. And
Lee is the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Lee.
But your discipline to be able to, and that obviously was a part of your success too, that you're always readily available to jump on a plane and go to Germany, to go to Switzerland, or to do a comp, at the drop of a hat. So.
Let me bring it in for a second, because we're going to share this. I've never shared the podcast. Milos, you, like I said, I've brang. I think very much a fan, very much. And you know what? I'm loving this. John, you might even be my co-host, maybe, the way we're going. But I have to say, Milos, I never competed. Never. And I did a cycle at 49. That's the only time I ever did a cycle. And I showed John what I wrote in my phone. And John was shocked by the level of intricacy I wrote from the meals that I ate, to how many meals I took, of what I shot, even the needle size, even the, like, I don't know what you call it, the tube, everything the vials, everything that I did, everything I'm very methodical. But the funniest was, I'm going to tell you a funny story so you can laugh. My parents were wondering, what the hell is Steve doing? He's eating too many eggs. Look at the amount of eggs, 6 eggs every morning, Steve. What are you doing? So this is how smart Europeans are. My dad knew the farmer that brought him manure for the garden, knew a farmer that had eggs. He goes, listen, next time you bring me manure, I need a pallet of eggs. So not only did they work out how to get eggs cheaper, they would order it direct from the farm. Isn't that?
There you go. Hey, I mean, eggs are huge. I don't know if you've seen my video. I have on the YouTube channel. I have the same breakfast for 40-something years.
It's incredible.
And I swear to God, you can find it on my YouTube. I just put Milos in breakfast for 40 years.
What is your breakfast? Tell us your breakfast.
Okay. I have like 12 egg whites and 2 yolks.
Yep.
Okay. This is standard. Sometimes I made it scrambled, but usually I like sunny side up. Like I like my egg yolk to be runny, right? I have a Greek yogurt always.
Yep.
And I had a beef, dry prosciutto, kind of from a beef. It's common in Serbia and in Greece, right? In Italy. In Italy, bresaola, when I get it. and some kind of bread. I'm Serbian. We eat bread. I ate bread all the way to the contest. I ate the day of the contest. You know, it's,
and salt. And you like salt. And you like salt.
I love salt. Listen,
No.
this is the first thing, because when my father, I realized when I was dieting for the first show, and he looked at me in the house, and I put no salt anywhere. So he would say, like, what are the two most important nutrients? Like, let's say you are now in a war. What would you need? Salt and water. And back in the day, obviously, again, follow the blind, how that was, you know, monkey see, monkey do. We were following what we heard that this is what you're supposed to do, and you don't put the salt because salt makes you hold water. Salt is essential. And I started loading up. My father was the type of guy that if he comes to your house and your mom makes whatever and she serves and he puts in a plate, he's going to put salt without even tasting it on top of it. And that's me. That's me.
Incredible.
You know, if you're not a hypertension patient, and you see a lot of bodybuilders would be it would be assumed that what we do would make us high blood pressure. I'm looking at my blood pressure monitor here. 110/70 all my life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Incredible.
And I probably have easily 15 grams of salt a day, when 2 grams is recommended. Okay. Same thing like when you talk about that protein. You mentioned Charles Poliquin, and I did numerous training camps and seminars with him all over Europe, Canada, here in the United States. And he actually initially first wanted to learn from me about bodybuilding nutrition, right? He was the strength coach. And immediately I turned him into this extreme high protein, right? What is the high? 1.5 grams of protein per pound, or up to 2. So I just told you I was eating 450 to 550 grams of protein, right, a day. And that's when I was 230, 240 pounds, right? Then I bulked up to like 280. That was my heaviest. So that's what he was recommending. I don't know if you ever attended any of his nutritional workshops. So if he would talk about in the kilos, it would be like 3 to 4 grams per kilo, right? But otherwise, it would be like 1.5 to 2 grams per pound. Is this overkill? Possible. A lot of people nowadays are recommending less. Like, it's not really necessary. But look, my experience when I told you, when my father opened my mind to make your own experience, decide for yourself. You know, Bruce Lee theory, observe everything, listen to everything, accept what is useful, discard what is useless, and create essentially your own. So medical field is telling us that's all protein we need. Well, protein is the only thing that builds muscle, okay? Not carbs, not fat. So why would I load myself with empty calories from energy that I might not use? I need built material. On that note, John, when you mentioned like you don't all the calories are the same, I don't count the calories from protein. Obviously, 1 gram of protein is 4 calories, and if I had 500 of them, that's 2,000 calories. Those calories are not my energy calories. I don't want to burn them. I want to insert them.
It's incredible.
And you know, for you and for listeners, even if you have listeners that are not even into the bodybuilding, your nutrition, right? Your chicken, your turkey, your fish, for your whatever, Greek yogurt, whatever source of protein that you take. I literally visualize that protein peptide being broken down in amino acids. If I would color them, you know, let's say black color, I could visualize them being inserted in my muscle biceps. If I train, my biceps would be black. Psychology over physiology. That's another thing that my father, as a doctor, could not say this because he would probably be disbarred there. Like, you're supposed to talk the science. Do you think that you cannot, your body if you visualize your nutrients being sent somewhere, inserted somewhere, be sent there. You hear a lot of people, oh, if I have this cake, it's going to go straight into my love handles.
That's where it goes.
You just send them there.
No, because you just said it. That's right. I used to visualize myself, and I told people, if you said this is going to make you fat, guess what?
Yeah.
It's going to make you fat.
Yeah, exactly. You're sending the message. Absolutely. So if you go to, let's say, Dexter Jackson's or Dennis Wolf's seminar, he said, no, they have a high metabolism, they can eat whatever, and they burn it. And they visualize that, right? So I would always be like this. I visualize what happens, right? Carbs, yeah, I'm allowed when I need the carbs. When I don't need the carbs, I can go with a slow energy. I can have my fats, But all these people, they're going on this diet or that diet. Like, what the hell diet? You're supposed to know what protein does, okay? Take as much protein as you want. Anybody that is listening, okay? Take as much protein as you want. Charles Poliquin, what would he tell you? If runs, flies, or swims and have eyes,
His famous saying.
Yeah, and if it's green, and
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
How simple that is.
If I could just interject for one moment, Milos. So with protein, do you believe also that you're preaching the gospel to me? Like everything you say is like just resonates with me. I get exactly what you're saying when it comes to nutrition. Do you think eating that much protein for certain people, including myself, your genetics allow you to absorb that much protein? Because I think everyone's receptors, do you think, are also genetic as well? Do you think, I'm saying it's a question that I ask, like I've always, it's like when, there's gym rat talk in the gym where people take, 10 mils of SARS 250, the other guy takes half a mil. Some guys respond really well because given the fact that the receptors are probably, more naturally gifted. And
for the steroids, it's different for receptors and absorption of the protein. That's completely different, right?
Yeah.
Of course, genetically, we are individually all different, right? So now you're going to throw that in to confuse people. Listen, protein is protein, okay?
Keep it simple,
that assumption you cannot absorb more than 30 grams per sitting, or some stupid things that you hear throughout life, right? And now there are this study, I don't need a double-blind university study to tell me that water is wet, right? that sky is blue and grass is green. All I need to do is open my eyes, right? So now for protein, peptide, all these amino acids, it takes time to digest it, but once those amino acids are in the bloodstream, what is the fate? It can be inserted as amino acid into the tissue and can be converted as a glucose and burned as energy. That's the only fate, right? Yes. So if you do have excess protein, worst thing that can happen is going to be, turned into the gluconeogenesis and burned as energy. Big deal, right? Yes. So for me, I want to cover my bases. I would have my protein sufficient and maybe exceeding the amount that I might need. But I would count, I have it. And then if you train 6 days a week, twice a day, like I said, I did with Sonny Schmidt, right? And Charles Poliquin is actually the guy that questioned me first time. And he asked me, what do you think that intense training is going to do? Like how much glucose or glycogen is going to be burnt in this kind of, right? And I didn't really know. Again, that's one thing that, I couldn't really, point my finger at. So he was the one doing 200 grams of a dextrose immediately post-workout. Because to replenish estimated 200 grams of glycogen and glucose combination that he burned during a training. Like, oh, okay. So if I would burn 400 in the 2 workouts, plus your energetic needs for the day, brain needs 125 grams of glucose, 500 calories, right, for brain functioning, all these kind of things. Oh, there's plenty of glucose that you can have in carbohydrates. So guys like myself, Jay Cutler, for example, we were super high carbs, right? And listen, we were always in shape.
Yes.
Now, here comes the keto movement, and carbs are the enemies. Yeah, if you're, what Charles would say, you're a fat bastard if you have more than 10% body fat. And then you don't deserve the carbs. Okay? So don't be a fat bastard, right? You know, keep yourself in shape. How do you keep yourself in shape? With the measured, timely intake of a nutrient. Do you need the calories? You are what you eat. And for anybody listening, right? Next time you pick up whatever processed food because, oh, that tastes so good. Yeah? Okay, what does that nutritionally does to you? And what kind of health benefits you're going to get from getting the garbage or putting the nutrients that can do wonders for your health and longevity, right? So you say, I'm a bodybuilder, so you guys are unhealthy. I'm 61 years old. I can do blood tests and any kind of medical checkups with anyone, and let's see. And I have to confess, since 1987, I've been doing steroids, right? So again, oh my God, you are damaging your body. I said, really? I think that steroids actually helped me be healthy because I never abused it. I used it correctly. And when you think about it, well, oh, anabolic means what? Constructive, not destructive. Oh, yeah. So they have a bad rap because they're not allowed in Olympics and in the sports. Okay, not allowed. Why? Because they make superior athletes. They make you bigger, stronger, faster, physically superior. Oh, absolutely. That's a bad thing? No, you know, just for everybody listening. Also, being enhanced is a bad thing. It's not, what do you call for the sports, it's not allowed for a reason. Now, my brain is not functioning to find the right word. Ethical. It's not ethical to use it. If you guys don't use it and I use, and we go to the contest, I have an unfair advantage. And that's why in Olympic Games and pure sports, you don't have it. But in sports that you don't have it, like myself coming to America to compete with those guys, 87, right? They asked me what I use. And when I said I use, you know, EAAs, I use protein, I didn't speak English. Okay, I don't know if you heard that story before. At the Miss Universe, I remember talking to, you know, a bunch of guys. I don't want to tell their names. But years later, they confessed they didn't believe me. I had no idea about the steroids. So when they asked me what do you use, and I told them, they told, fuck you, right? So I said, I don't speak English. I don't speak English, but I know what that means. I said, like, oh, maybe I said something wrong, right? And I zip it up. Later, a few years later, when I talked to the same guy, he says, well, I said, yeah, I was drug-free. I didn't know about it, right? But then imagine coming to America. I'm going to pursue my dream, and I'm going to be, you know, at Olympia stage. I placed 6th in that contest. Then I went to some amateur shows, you know, the smaller shows in California, and I was having my ass kicked, okay, by anybody. And then I realized, okay, if you want to go with the big boys, you do what they do, right? So I started researching, and, okay. And back at that time, we were all kind of afraid of it, okay? And that's why when you hear the cycles of Lee Priest, right? Or Sonny Schmidt or something, people nowadays don't believe it because they would just want to assume that we were taking crazy amounts. When you talk about Dorian Yates, that looked like he fall down from Mars, right? Oh, no. It's impossible that he used only things that he said that he did. He did. If somebody always have a same answer, you know, you can trust them. Liars can't remember their lies. So if they change their story, you can imagine. But anyway, just to conclude, I didn't find that the use of steroids is unhealthy. abuse is.
Yeah, of course.
This is where you draw the line. So now you have to determine what is a use, what is abuse. Same thing about the insulin. You guys know that I'm insulin guy. Oh, yeah. If you know how to use it, it's your best friend.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's your worst enemy and it could kill you. Okay. But then they'll, point fingers. No. And like, I'm a bad guy. I ruined the sport. I used it from 1993 until 2003. Constantly. Okay. Did you see my stomach being bubble gut or me being out of shape? So when people are talking, so John, just to touch that receptors in genetics, they're hyper responders. Okay, they're people that can touch something and you just can't believe your eyes.
Yep.
And then
Correct.
you have people that do 10 times amount. You have to wonder, is this even worth for you to take it?
Correct. Yeah.
I think you said as well in, I don't know if it was a podcast or an interview, and you said, and I'm going to say two things. One, what you said that when they do what the average is that a person should take, you said, but that's the average person. That's not bodybuilders. We don't even know what the average person they're showing us really is and what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So, that goes in many directions. I said that many times. Everything in life, anything in sport, anything in nutrition, anything in training or pharmacology or anything, you can minimize, compromise, optimize, or maximize. If you're true to yourself and you really want to maximize whatever you're doing, you do some research. Like John, you said, trial and error experience, you are trying to find, right? But instantly, you already know what protein does, right? What carbs and calories, okay, nutritionally, good. Training, we can talk about this heavy duty, myofibril hypertrophy, sarcoplasmic, lighter giant sets and all this stuff. This is all also debatable. Pharmacology that I just mentioned, because I'm going to be probably looked up like, oh, bad guy. I used steroids because I believe they can enhance my physique. Pharmacologically, anabolize, insert, increase protein synthesis, prevent degradation, all beneficial. So what is wrong? I never abused it, use it to this day. I mean, I'm quite open about it. I still use 250 grams of testosterone a week and 50 milligrams of DECA, right? Mm-hmm. And that's basically what I do, because when I choose to stop thinking, well, I don't really need it, I felt the difference. I said, why would I not do it? Just because idea of, oh, you don't need it anymore. Well, I certainly am never going to compete again, but I'm still training like 4 or 5 times a week. I'm still eating clean, and I need that pharmacological, enhancement to get my amino acids and inserted where I want them, and for my joints and for anything else.
I also believe, and this is I told a few people this. I believe when they brought calories in, calories was brought into the realm of fitness only so they can make fast food, junk food, seem to fit into your calories. So we took that word away. We took away junk food. We took away fast food. So we brought in calories. So now when you hear McDonald's, you'll never hear McDonald's is junk food. Let's just say that. You'll never hear, you don't hear the word junk food anymore, right? You hear, does it fit my calories? And I feel that that's the food industry making everyone believe that they can have or fit in junk food in their day if they're eating 2,500 calories. And for me, I've never been a firm believer of that, because then I know then calories aren't calories.
Yeah. If it fits your macros, and calories are not calorie, but by all means.
Hence the reason why I guess they've got calories attached to all the burgers and stuff. And
That's right. That's what I
so
was
because
gonna
it
say.
makes people. And the thing is, I never calorie counted either myself. Like at the end of the day, people used to come up to me and said, "Oh, I fit all my macros in today." I said, you know, when the shirt comes off, the bullshit stops. Like, what do you look like in the mirror? Essentially, like I'm saying, that's going to tell you, you know, like if you're on track or if you're not on track. Essentially, like in a simplified way, for people that are obsessed with counting calories, you know. So,
well, you know, oh, look at this. I get the message from Victor Conti right now. You guys know Victor Conti?
No.
yes,
From Delta Labs?
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Because, yeah, I was involved also in that. It was Project World Record. Do you guys know that? Creating Fastest Man Alive? The same thing. I was approached because my knowledge and say, like, what would I change? So, yeah, I'm not going to pick up the phone. Sorry, I should have actually shut it off. But calories in, calories out. Does anybody ever wants to store body fat?
No.
There is any human being out there that would say, like, oh, let's store some body fat. Right? You don't want that.
That's right.
Okay? So why do you allow it to happen? You know, when all these intelligent people, and I said it many times, tell me, I know I'm doing it wrong. Okay? End of story. You want to keep doing it wrong? Okay? So calories is calorie, this and that, and no. You know, the nutrient is nutrition. It's not calorie count. Okay? Calorie count is just there, you know, once you put all the nutrition in, you know, so you take so much carbs, so much fat. You don't need it. You take what is needed, when is needed, and then you can maximize everything to the rest of your life. It's so easy. Anybody that, listen, when some lady would come there, I don't know what to eat. Or somebody younger, I don't know what, oh, you don't know if chicken, rice, and broccoli or egg whites and Greek yogurt would be better than cereal and burger and fries. You don't really need. I mean, everybody knows. They just choose. Yeah, I mean, you know, here's one of great books, actually. I have Outlived by Peter Attia.
Yep.
He talks about a lot of things. Yeah, here. And all this new diseases they're created because unhealthy lifestyle and eating habits.
It is eating habits.
So when you say you've been eating the same breakfast for the last 40 years, and by the way, I think that breakfast you eat's awesome. It's amazing. As Charles Poliquin also talked about, you know, food sensitivities. Yeah, did you find yourself like at any stage, like because you ate eggs so much, did you ever find that you built up any resistance to?
No, okay, so Charles is actually the one that I accepted that from. Exactly what you said. If you eat the same kind of protein day in, day out, every meal, you're going to get allergic to it within a month. And I didn't really believe it. But that goes for, let's say, a lot of German, especially, you know, people like, they would be like so strict. They eat chicken and rice and pineapple because Andreas Munzer was eating this. And then maybe that quark cheese, right? Chicken. If you eat only chicken, you're going to get allergic to the chicken. But my breakfast was always the same. Now my lunch is always the same. I have a tuna and salmon sushi. You know, my wife is Japanese and makes, you know, beautiful things. But I would have a chicken meal, egg meal, steak meal, turkey meal, or whatever else. So I would just have one meal a day of these. So I never created intolerance to the eggs. And back in a time when I look at my journals, I don't know if you know the story, I came with the $428.10 in my pocket from Yugoslavia trying to make a living, right?
Yep.
And I went straight to Tucson, Arizona to compete at Mr. Universe, and which was not explained to me and which I didn't understand is that I'm going to have to pay for my hotel. When I was competing in this federation in Italy in European Championship, and I placed second, didn't speak English, and this president of the federation was telling me, I was just like, waving, saying yes, yes, yes. He gave me an invitation for Mr. Universe, and they pay for my hotel in Italy, right? So I thought I'm just going to go to Arizona and, this is covered. But then when I went in and I checked in, and I had to pay. So I spent like 200 something out of this, like more than half.
That's crazy.
So the reason why I said it, I didn't have the money, right? And now when you want to have your 500 grams of protein a day, how can you? Eggs were the cheapest protein source.
They were.
There was 5 dozens, like 60 eggs were like $4 something at the Costco. And then big can of tuna.
Tuna, man. Tuna. God.
You ever seen it? Like this big. I don't even know like how many ounces was it. Okay. So that's all I was eating, chicken and eggs, because this is what I could afford it. Right?
And tuna.
And tuna.
Yeah.
I used to
And tuna, yeah.
and tuna, but I used to go down to the Chinese shop and I just used to get boiled rice from them. It's hilarious, but something John said that I want to also mention too, and I'm not trying to say I didn't compete because you can't take away my love affair for bodybuilding. I just knew who you were, whoever was competing, I just knew that's where they wanted to be, but I enjoyed seeing them there. But it's true what John said. You guys, do you know, it never crossed our mind that you were taking steroids. Everyone talks about it now, but we're all around the same age, but that was the last thing on our mind because you guys had those physiques that seemed like it was hard work. You put the work in, you made it attainable, and just like Terry, not once Terry told me about steroids. When I asked him, it was like he said to me, what are you eating? Firstly, that's what he'd say. What are you training? And he just knew, if you haven't got the fundamentals right and you don't have the discipline right, what else do you want to hear from me?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And the funniest thing was, last thing, when I said to him, how do I look even better? And he goes, go get rid of that hair. And he told me who his beautician was. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I believe
And
it.
she was in a suburb Leichhardt from Marrickville, right? Was it? And the first time I went, I said to the lady, I want to get my body waxed. And she goes, this is at 21. And hardly men wax themselves except only bodybuilders and bicycle riders, right? And that's what I'm saying is it was far from needing the nitrous oxide unless you had done a lot of things prior to that to then establish that you would do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, now that you say about the vaccine, it just the memories. First time I was actually shaving off for the contest, right? My parents did not approve my bodybuilding, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that's another story.
So, my father approved it that later, right? But initially, he was saying if man is looking in the mirror, other than shaving, he is narcissistic, right? so these kind of things. And then partially because I was hiding, I was always wearing long sleeves and, they couldn't really tell. But I went to this bodybuilding contest without them knowing. And the Yugoslavian championship in Tuzla, I remember driving there, there was like, and I was going to do the teenage group, but you remember Serbian cars, the Zastava, that was too slow and I was too late. The teenagers were already competing. So the only thing that I could do is enter the seniors and I placed respectful fourth. And then there was in newspapers and my father read it, and it's like, oh, so, where did you say you went on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So I lied. But anyway, why was I telling you this? Where was I going with
About the waxing?
You said something about waxing. I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So I was going to shave for the contest because, you're supposed to, right? First contest, nobody told me nothing, right? So, okay, I was going to shave. And then Serbian razors, especially used like God knows how many times. Like, okay.
Oh, no.
So
Yes.
I went on my shin bones, right? I said, okay. And then it was just like, peel off the skin, and then you could see just like a white, and then just blood starts going.
Incredible.
So if you did a vaccine right away, somebody told you more than they told me.
Then
Well,
what, yeah.
I scarred myself.
Do you know, the only time I shaved, I'm going to tell you, I've got to share a funny story. I know you like funny stories. So I waxed all my life. So I would wax, when I say everything, obviously not my genitalia, but hear me out because that would kill. But listen to this story. Milos, you're going to love it. So I would wax my whole body, my arms, my legs. I never shaved. And one time someone said, you should get laser done. So I said,
oh yeah.
So but listen, and this was at 49, I said, I'll get laser done. So with laser, you get to shave. So I asked the laser clinic, and this laser clinic only did men. So it was men, lasering men. And I believe it was the guys that owned it were Muslims, right? Hear me out first. It was just they don't want to be seen by women or women touching men. So it's in Belfield, by the way, John. So hear this out. Milos, you're going to laugh. So I shaved my body. It felt weird, but I said, all right, I'll shave it. The guy said, shave everything. I said, everything? He goes, everything. So when I got there, the guy goes, get undressed. I said, completely undressed. He goes, yes. Anyway, when I laid down and he started lasering me, he started to touch my genitalia. Hear me out. And I said to myself, if I fucking get a hard on, I've got a problem here. So I started thinking of sports cars. I started thinking of anything other than women fucking nut. Because I said,
Usually sports cars give you a hard on.
I thought of XAGTs, XYGTs. What I mean is, I said to myself, if this guy's touching me and I get a hard on, I've got a problem. So
you do have a problem if you will get the hard on for man touching you, and even if you allow him to touch you.
Well, shit! I've just revealed it to Milos, and the whole world's going to be listening now. No, well, but you know what? I want to talk a little bit about your pinned post. Let's go to a bit of bodybuilding here, but the thing is, Milos, and we're going to do some comparisons. But you've got a few pinned posts. But I'm going to talk about your third pinned post because I noticed you recently posted about it or someone spoke about it. And it was a 1999 British Grand Prix. You placed fifth, but on YouTube, you say the greatest show on earth. This is what many people called the show, and it was for a reason. And it was three of the greatest bodybuilders ever. And they were Olympians, and you were up there with them. And then you said that you were having comparisons with them, and it was the best ever. It was Ronnie Coleman, it was Flex Wheeler, and it was Kevin Levrone. I just want to know, why was that to you the greatest show on earth? Okay,
so you have to go a little bit back in time.
Yep.
You know how there was the domination of Lee Haney in the 80s.
It was.
Until 1991. And then 1992, Dorian Yates took over.
Yep.
And he was there until 1997. So now 1998, right, it was wide open, and everybody expected Flex Wheeler to be the next because he was like everybody's favorite, the Sultan of Symmetry, beautiful aesthetic shape. Like, oh my God, whoever is in bodybuilding, I'm sure that they admire Flex Wheeler. But here comes Ronnie Coleman out of nowhere. And I've seen Ronnie, basically competing with me throughout the years. We all saw his potential, but few of us actually expected him to go that far. And then 98, he shocked the world and he beat Flex. Now, Flex was doing it this whole 1999 to put, like, I don't know what he said, how many pounds, like 20 something pounds. And he believed he still had that symmetry, and now he's bigger. He's going to beat Ronnie easily and get his title. So it didn't happen at the Olympia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we went to European tour. Dorian Yates was promoting this with Kerry Case in Manchester. And There was like a rematch from the Olympia. So look, sometimes if you competed, you never competed, but maybe John, if you did compete, you maybe don't nail it exactly, first time. But then if you have a couple of more opportunities, right, to nail it week later, and you have another show, that is possible. So there was Kevin Levrone, that everybody also think he's uncrowned Mr. Olympia.
Yes.
Flex Miller, uncrowned Mr. Olympia. But 1999, Ronnie Coleman looked,
Phenomenal.
out of this world. So, put it this way, on that stage, Ronnie won, Flex was second, and he gave him big time run for the money. And Kevin was also super close. So for me, those are the three of the best physiques ever being compared in these three-man comparisons. The fullness, the size, the condition, and then lighting was perfect. I mean, if you really watch, and I don't know if you do this for your podcast, if you can run some
We'll run
videos.
everything. We'll run everything. Don't worry.
Oh my God. Me as a fan, right? I can watch this over and over and over. Flex believes that he could have taken Ronnie. He said publicly that Ronnie even told him backstage that if it goes to him, he would accept it because Flex was that good. If you ask Flex what is his best ever, he would say 99 British. Evan looked like a freak. And for me, you got to understand also, I was a guy that was competing against myself, not against those guys. I knew I have no chance of, winning Mr. Olympia and all that. So that's kind of different because a lot of people say, why did you compete? Yeah, I never competed against the other guys. I competed against myself.
Absolutely.
So I went to European Grand Prix tours and made zero money competing in 7 countries in 7, shows, and I didn't make a top 5. And I went every single year back to it was not about the money. It was about, I have another chance, another challenge. And throughout my career, I managed to beat Ronnie many times and Jay Cutler or Kevin Levrone or, big names. Okay, that's a big feather in my
Not many
cap.
people can say that. Not many people can say that.
But put it this way, Nasser El Sonbaty almost won the Olympia. I think that he should have won 97. 98 was super competitive against Flex, Ronnie, and Nasser. 99, I managed to beat Nasser in this European Grand Prix Tour. And I don't know if you've seen any of those pictures.
Yes.
I said, like, okay, you guys, I'm going to go with these monsters. Monster Ronnie, Monster Kevin, Monster Flex, big Monster Nasser El Sonbaty, Marcus Rule. I said, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I competed so many times and I went for a certain look. I said, they want size, they want fullness. I blew up for that show, doing my special protocols, and I pushed it to the crazy limits. And I look crazy. I think that I did look crazy, not enough to affect top 3, right? I placed 5th. There was like a couple of points between me and Dexter for 4th and 5th, but I beat Marcus and I beat Nasser. They were behemoths. They were just like monsters.
They were monsters.
So just judges giving me a nod over them. You say like, I was there.
Incredible for your midsection, your quads were just perfect lines, and that's.
You mentioned Nasser El Sonbaty. He was a fellow Yugoslavian, a friend of yours, which is and you God bless his soul. Yeah, he passed away 12 years ago in his sleep, and he won the Arnold's in 1999. Is that correct? I think
yes.
But he in 1997 though. I think that was his Olympia, and many say it, that he got second place to Dorian. And even when you look back at the videos, he dwarfed like Dorian at the time. I'm not saying Dorian was amazing. And I heard that really destroyed him, didn't it? That really affected him a lot.
Yeah, okay. I know a lot of, so depending if you heard my story, I have a long relationship with Nasser.
Yeah.
You know, so he was fellow Yugoslavian. He actually beat me in a contest in Yugoslavia.
Yep.
He was a champion, overall champion, and I placed second in my category. You know, then this is how I met him. But then he started competing before me, but he didn't place anywhere really. And then he started competing with me in Night of the Champions, you know, a few years, and some other shows that I keep beating him. So in 1993, and John, you probably heard that story. I repeat myself, but for people that never heard it, in FIBO, Germany, he approached me and said if I can tell him, you know, my contest prep.
It's incredible.
I spent 2 hours explaining him everything in great details. Great details. Now, for you guys, I keep showing this. These are kind of my journals. Okay, Steve, you probably didn't see it.
Yeah.
And here is
I have seen them,
every single day is like how much protein, carbs,
incredible.
you know, every single. So in a great detail, how much protein, carbs, and you know everything. There was no digital method, so I would put the Polaroids and compare, right? So it would be every single day. So one of these
unbelievably methodical.
This was in my house, right, in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to visit. And then he looked at, after 94 Olympia, right, he moved to San Diego, California. We are fellow Yugoslavians. He's a bodybuilder friend. I invite him for dinner, and, you know, we were visiting each other. Our family met his family, and, you know, it's a friendship. But my journal was on my table, and he goes, "What is this?" And I told him. So he looked at it and looked, and then he looked at his wife that was with him when I was telling him the whole 1993 story.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was speaking in German, and I don't speak German, but there's one very distinctive word that you can remember. It's Arschloch,
Right.
which is asshole. So he's talking to her and saying this, say, "Are you talking about me?" And then he didn't want to say anything. And then his wife told me, "You know, Milos, everything you told him, he did exactly the opposite. Because he didn't believe that I'm competing against him, and I would tell him the truth."
Wow.
I was about to say it's pretty.
That's very rare.
It's pretty incredible that another competitor would be so open and so.
But okay, we just talk about Djokovic was training with the kid that just beat him today.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this is what I did always. I said to Nasser, so when he came back in 94 to San Diego, we became training partners. We trained together twice a day, 6 days a week, right? And then now that he realized this is what I'm doing, first, that I was really eating so much protein because he was only eating like 250. And then he realized, oh, you small punk, you're eating 500? So he's going to take 600. So he started taking 600. And then the protocols that I show him, look at Nasser 94 Olympia.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And 6 months later at the Night of the Champions. Like, unthinkable difference, right? So anyway, again, I don't remember why did I start saying this story.
Because I think I said to you in 1997 against Dorian Yates.
Yeah. So Nasser improved so much that 95, after he won Out of the Champions, he gave Dorian push for his money at 95. And 95 Dorian is my favorite version of Dorian. Ripped to pieces.
Yeah.
Andreas Munzer kind of conditioning, right? And Nasser was there challenging. 96, Nasser was very challenging. Okay. And then 96, Nasser came at his best, and I don't think Dorian was at his best. And you know, when you're not at that level and you can't really taste the victory, maybe it's different. Because the best I ever placed was 10th, 3 times, right? Nasser was there top 3 2 years in a row. And now after prejudging, he believed that he beat Dorian. There was not even a contest. and then he placed second, right? He really did do the number on him. And then he believed that 98 he could take it, and then 98 he didn't. So 99 was already declining version of Nasser. He was still good, but it was not the same as 97.
I want to know as well, because I'm going to go over all your comments, but you've got another pinned post. It's your first one. And I just want to know why it's pinned up there, because there's a reason. But 1997 Canadian Pro Cup, IFBB first place. And like, what a body, the conditioning and the posing routine, quite a dramatic piece. You were playing the song, Who Wants to Live Forever? Who wants to live forever? 34 competitors and quite the lineup. Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, I'm super proud about that. Okay. And for me, you heard me say many times, #bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Okay. I would let anybody look at my body at that stage, my posing routine and everything, and they will not fall in love with bodybuilding. I think that physique is very attainable, right? And still is at a level that this is what I visualized when I started bodybuilding, right? I mentioned this before. When you're smaller and you visualize what your body is going to look like.
I do that myself. Trust me, I've always
that's
done
the
it.
vision. That's the vision. That's the physique that I kind of imagined it.
Can I just ask you quickly, do you do that now? Because I still do it, because I have to, because I'm growing old.
I'm 61 years old, let me tell you.
But you still visualize it, don't you? You still know the body.
You still look great, though.
You do.
Thank you.
So,
but about that post, and I want, if anybody is listening to this podcast, it's my first pin post.
it is.
Right?
It is, and I want to know about it.
Okay. So for me, it's about aesthetics and the shape.
I could
Okay.
see, yeah.
And then back in the day, I think that posing routines would tell so much. It's not really a movement and choreography. It's like doing the poses other than mandatories, because there are 8 mandatories. Back then it was only 7. You can show the glory of your physique, your strengths, and what you want to share with the audience, right? I can tell you, I remember like so many great posing routines of Bob Paris, Leela Brada, the Maccabi, there was something memorable. We lost that art of bodybuilding. Now it's,
Absolutely.
do this mandatory poses, people don't put any effort, so how can normal, your parents, okay, go on Instagram and look at the bodybuilders posing? They're going to get 5 seconds of it.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And that physique, I'm very proud of presenting. A lot of people commented and told me that, oh, yeah, this is what brought them to bodybuilding. Like you said, when I was in Australia, like with Shawn Ray, right? It made impression on you and you wanted to pursue it. I would want anybody to look at that routine and the physique that they displayed at that contest and tell me
first class.
And tell me the man doesn't supposed to look like that.
That's first class. It's a work of art, and you had the 3D look from every angle, and that's the illusion that I think a lot of these young kids don't understand. Getting under that light, posing under that light, knowing what that 3D look looks like, and also having. You weren't a mass monster, but you still had that incredible thickness, which is so hard to describe to a young guy of this era, where the 90s bodybuilders, even Leela Brada, small guy, but just had incredible thickness and that grainy look, and side on, he was wider than a telegraph pole. You know what I'm saying? It's just incredible.
I also found...
This episode is sponsored by Vision Attire, premium Australian active wear for men and women, including comp day wear for all male divisions. Their men's physique shorts are tailored for the stage with quick dry fabric and a cut that brings out your taper. Visit visionattire.com.au and use code MuscleTalks for 20% off. Portion 100% natural single ingredient Aussie dog food. No fillers, no nasties, just real high protein treats like kangaroo jerky and goat trotters. Go to portion.com.au, use MuscleTalks25 for 25% off your first order and MuscleTalks10 for 10% off all orders after that. Primabolics, Australia's most trusted supplement backed by full clinical doses. Whether it's protein, pre-workouts or health support, they've got you covered. Visit primabolics.com.au and use MuscleTalks15 for 15% off all your orders.
I also found, sorry to interrupt,
No,
John.
no.
No, share it, but because I know Milos. I also found that you back then there was no stone unturned. You would not turn up with a big arm if the tricep and the bicep didn't match up with the delt.
Absolutely.
Like the delt couldn't be bigger than the arms. The arms, nothing was allowed to be. If it didn't look, it had to be completely. The whole thing had to be big, aesthetically, with that small waistline. But it wasn't like this enormous teardrop or this enormous, like everything was. What's the word I'm looking for?
Just beautiful lines.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say.
Balance.
Balance. There was
Yeah,
there was a silhouette. There was a balance. It wasn't like the chest had to be open. It wasn't this, and it just the whole thing was nothing was left. You couldn't turn around and go, he didn't have the arms, he didn't have the pecs, he didn't have the traps, he didn't, like the traps weren't like I said, at some stages in the late 90s, they started to change a little bit. I think Dorian Yates changed a lot of things too.
That whole look, it was the new look of bodybuilding, I guess. They wanted to take it to another level and make it more.
Also, posing's changed then.
Correct.
Well. Dorian wasn't posing a lot.
They wanted to make the look more freakier. They thought that, obviously marketing that look would take it to another level and introduce another level of. Whereas obviously the 90s that I always go back to, because I think anyone in bodybuilding, even these young kids that are 18, they need to look at the history books just like you study history at school. The history of the 80s and 90s bodybuilding. I also pay respects to the 70s, but it was just incredible that you guys had the balance of all those eras. Like no one had that, and you guys all represented that. And not only that, the characters and the personalities of you guys had charisma. You knew how to speak. Like you came from another country and you still had a way with words. There was the camaraderie too that you guys displayed as well, which was.
Oh, can I add something to that? I want to add something to that. I was telling Shawn Ray as well. Not only did you guys present yourself well on stage, you dressed well. You had beautiful shirts on. You turned up with beautiful trousers. You actually cared about how you looked when you went out, walked down the street. It was like this. Like we don't have it today. The youth don't have it today. But back then, the shirt was tailored. The trousers were tailored. The shoes were shined. The hairstyle was done correctly. You were shaven. It was a presentation, not just for the stage. It was just a presentation all around.
But that was a kind of, dress code that I wish that they kept it, but that they didn't, right? So if you see any of Olympia press conferences back in the day, Arnold Classics and stuff like that, that was a code. You're supposed to show that and represent yourself and your sport.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you cheapen yourself and cheapen the sport, it reflects. And I don't like what they're doing. But you see, they're going to say, I'm dinosaur and old school, and this is new age, and let people be themselves. I say, shouldn't you dress properly?
Which, absolutely.
So how did you create those physiques, the symmetry that you like I said to you, you'd make sure nothing exceeded the other. How did that happen?
My idol, besides John Brown, that I saw him, and John Brown had a phenomenal physique, phenomenal presentation, combination of size and shape, small waist, full, everything, was Frank Zane. Frank Zane, 3 times Mr. Olympia.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Considerably, he was known for balance, aesthetics, and shape. And if you ask me about bodybuilding, that's my priorities, right? When I say hashtag bodybuilding, or hashtag muscle building. There is two different things. And with as much respect that I have for monsters and for people liking the freakiness, that was not my call. That's not why I went into the bodybuilding. And this is not the physique that I want to emulate, right? Like I said, I didn't compete against them. I competed against myself. And I knew that if I step on a stage with the best in the world, it just that additional, the deadline is the biggest motivator, right? Stevie, you never competed. If you had a date that you're going to step on that stage and be seen by thousands of eyes, right? You would probably step up the notch.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, so why did I compete? To prove something. I didn't have anything to prove to anyone except myself. Okay, if I'm in it, why not compete?
It's funny because, on a personal note, December the 1st in Australia is summer. And I knew, and I knew 12 weeks out, 16 weeks out, that everything was happening there and then. That was the stage. So I knew diet changed, grooming changed, a lot of things changed, the food changed, but also every decade, turning 30, turning 40, my wedding, the birth of my child, her christening, all these were specific dates. Like you said, of course I didn't do the stage, but I was date driven. I knew that I could turn up my absolute best on a certain date. I never took any dates for granted. Just like I said, when I was 49, I never took a cycle and I said, I'm going to go take a cycle. No coach. I did go to someone and I wrote it all down, but I started it 9 months away from my birthday. So 9 months, it was my cycle. That's when I knew I'm turning 50, something new, something to try, and it was amazing, by the way, but I blew myself at the end. I blew myself out. I took too much. I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And I realized less is more. But like I was saying, I think, I guess where I'm trying to go with this is, and I want to ask you again, just quickly, when you were in Yugoslavia, were you predominantly natural? That's what I wanted to just.
I think the first 7 years
I was natural. Yeah.
So when you came to America, you were still natural, correct?
Yes.
And that's when you were wondering why they didn't believe you and they thought you were full of shit. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, look, you mentioned about something, and I was going to tell you. Mm-hmm. In Serbia, there was a magazine with a picture of Arnold. You know that black and white photo with the two arms like this?
Yeah.
And I remember...
I think it's called the claw. Is it called the claw?
I don't even know what it is, that pose. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Arnold Schwarzenegger never used steroids, right? And I believed it.
Yep.
Listen, you're growing up in Yugoslavia, you don't see muscular people and you don't know nothing about steroids and all this stuff. And then you see, okay, no. So when I came, I was ready to fight anybody that would say that Arnold was on steroids, right? I didn't... What? Steroids are bad. Steroids is no way. And I read in a magazine that he was drug-free, right? Until I realized, right, that everybody else was doing. Now, mind you, the shows that I did after the Mr. Universe were small local shows in California. Iron Man, Iron Maiden, I don't know, some, Super Bowl of bodybuilding, Orange County Muscle Classic, whatever, right? But California is epicenter of bodybuilding.
It was.
Absolutely.
So, if I want to step on the stage, I was outclassed. And I was outclassed because of that one reason, right? So that's the thing. Many guys would proudly say, nobody's going to outwork me, right? So you hear this like so many times. Okay. I don't want to, if I say anything bad about Dorian, they're going to say like, you always picking on Dorian. No, I respect that. Listen, Dorian dominated in the hardest era of bodybuilding.
He did.
Okay?
He did.
And he created physique that was impossible to deny, right? But when I hear nobody's going to outwork me. And he did 3 or 4 workouts a week, 45 minutes each, right? And then I pushed to the limits. I've seen hundreds of guys train harder than him.
Yeah.
Okay? Or longer. Oh, you can either train long or hard, right? These kind of things. I mean, come on. You know, training to the failure and screaming on the leg press and all that stuff. And you're like, oh, doing that one. You know, I've seen this over and over again.
So many people.
Or nobody's going to, you know, out diet me. Like, I'm going to do this. Yeah. There is so many. And there is so many that are not even recognized to do the same thing. So I'm never going to say this. Yeah, I'm not going to be outworked. I just did everything to maximize for myself. Could I train like Dorian? Probably no. And I would probably, my body, you were talking about genetics and how body responds.
Yes.
It worked perfectly for him.
Yeah.
It worked perfectly.
It was that, sorry to interrupt, Milos. It was that he always referenced, obviously, Mike Metzner with that style of HIT training. And, I'm not sure how close to Metzner's protocols he was doing, but I guess the whole training 4 days a week, and he always talked about recovery. Your body needs to recover. And I thought maybe the fact that he said that probably tried to was a psychological game maybe with his other competitors to say no one's going to outwork me, no one's going to out-diet me. But yeah, I've even seen him in our local gyms in small-time Australia, some guys that used to train, you know, like incredibly hard. So, and, you know, to get a plastic trophy.
Lee Priest, you saw him train, right?
Lee was, and then Lee had the other ethic where I've heard Lee talk about long training sessions, like 2 hours, high volume, which is just as hard. I've tried both, and I think, Lee was always an advocate of that, like long training sessions, a lot of reps, a lot of sets, volume.
Arnold used to say about, he did 35 sets for the chest, right? Each overtraining, you know?
Yeah.
So he said, thank God I didn't know that I was overtraining, right?
Yeah.
So he did it. And Arnold is known for possibly one of the best chests in the history of humankind.
100%.
Right?
100%.
You know? So that's what bothers me. Like when people throw in like, oh, less is more, or, you know, you can recover. Like, what do you mean you can recover? If my nutrition is perfect and all I do is eat, train, and sleep, why wouldn't I be able to stimulate muscle in the morning and come back in the evening, which I did with Sonny back in the day, 6 days a week.
Incredible.
Twice a day.
Do you think it's everyone's talking too much? There's too much in their head. Everyone's trying to crack the case. And because you had a little bit of naivety, and naivety allows you to go and do the work because you just knew the work was needed to be done, and then you knew you needed your nutrition. But if you sat there trying all the time to crack the case and spent most of your time doing that, then in the end, and also the other thing I noticed about yourself, but many Olympians back in the, actually I'll say predominantly even the 70s, 80s and 90s, bodybuilders wanted to be on that stage. They didn't care the placing. It wasn't always about number one. It was about competing against Lee Haney. It was competing against Dorian Yates. It was to be next to those guys that you knew if you were going to be compared, you were going to be compared by the best. But also something Lee said, and I think you'd agree, each show taught you something. And each show, whatever position you came in, allowed you to go and reflect and learn, can you exceed that? Or can you come back better? Or why didn't you come back better? It didn't really matter.
It was not about the placings. It was really, as I said, about improvement.
Yeah, the lessons.
About improvement. And you have to assess yourself honestly. I mean, you mentioned Lee. I've seen Lee when he was like 17 years old in Tucson, Arizona, when he competed in the universe, and he actually guest posed with his mother. That's how I met him. Yep. And then I've seen him in his pro debut, 93 Niagara Falls, right? and that's a kid that doesn't supposed to look like that. I mean, holy shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Incredible.
And then he achieved the look that is super hard to beat. I mean, and even when I talk about this, Lee didn't do everything right? So his diet was all over the place, but he could get away with it.
Yeah.
Okay, he could get away with it, but he liked training like this and all this stuff. So you were saying back in the 90s, we looked at differently and we approached competition and training differently. I was excited. I couldn't wait to get in a gym and do my training.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a challenge, and it's okay. Some days I would go to sleep and I would dream my workout, right?
Yes,
and there was excitement. Some people go to the gym as a punishment, as a I have to do this work. There's no passion about it. If you love training, okay, how can you limit yourself to 3-4 days a week, 45 minutes? Because, okay, less is better.
Yeah.
On another note, all of us want the most results with probably the least amount of effort. You know, this is
absolutely
right.
Yeah.
But here comes, if you enjoy training, like Jay Cutler is training 7 days a week now.
Yeah.
Okay.
incredible.
He loves training. And listen, Jay is, I have all the respect for him. He's running several businesses, work all day, and doesn't. He's still 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. He didn't work out. He's going to go and train. You can bet your life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
You know, so that's also. Do you enjoy training, or are you doing for other reasons?
Yes.
100%. I found as well, I mean, I want, look, also, and I don't think anyone remembers this, but back in the 80s and 90s, gyms were far away. Just remember that. They weren't down the street. They weren't an Anytime Fitness. They weren't a Snap Fitness. We got in our cars and some of us had to drive. I had to drive. So when you got there, you made sure you made the moment count, because that was a lot of fuel, a lot of effort. And when we were there, the last thing I'll mention quickly is about this was there was a bro culture. You spoke bodybuilding in there. So it took 2 hours. We spoke about things. We spotted each other. Not everyone went to the gym and just went in and went out. There was an obligation. If a guy needed help to pick up a PB, you went over there and you said, brother, let me get you through it. And you did. You helped him. And he turned to you and he said to you, I'll do the same for you. And they did. So we were spotting each other. We were talking to each other. We were breaking codes together in relation to bodybuilding. And the posing room was the toilets. Hey, let's go to the toilets and let's have a look at each other. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's why it probably took so long, the hours we spent.
And also going up to the aerobics room to check out all the girls.
Yeah,
let me jump on this right away, because there was exactly the opposite of what was allowed. Even when I trained with Sonny, we don't talk about nothing.
Really?
There's no, of course, you're there to train.
Okay.
You're there to train, not to see John and say, hey, John, how you doing? Then he's going to say he's doing good. And then how's your mom? How is your dad? How is your dog?
Oh, I didn't talk. I didn't talk about that. I didn't say that part, but yes, I see.
Yeah.
No, but there is no such a thing as talking. And I'll tell you, there was like 2007, for example, I had Dennis Wolf, Hidetari Yamagishi, Celia Samuel, Joel Stubbs, Johnny Jackson in the gym and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Armin Schultz. Okay. When we train, if you come in, John, and you want to say hello to anybody, I would tear your head off.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Why do you
I
need
totally
to say
agree.
hello in the middle of a training? You wait.
To
You
the
wait
end.
for the after training, because
In the
after
car park.
hello, everything else comes.
Absolutely.
You don't make eye contact, and I mean, seriously.
No.
I totally agree. I was very fortunate to have trained like that with a few good partners, and the only thing we spoke about was what plate did you want on next. That was it. Like,
Yeah.
do I put a 20 on? That's it. Like, that's it. It was very basic. It was very minimal.
I wasn't saying we were being social. What I'm saying, we talked, it was all bodybuilding. What I'm saying, when we got in the gym, but having said that, there was a level, I'm sure, and that's what I'm saying with John. When I saw what John did with his physique as well, I'll just let you know, I actually thought, I thought John was on the gear. I just found out he wasn't on the gear, right? John did an amazing job. Of course, because of me. I set the platform, but you guys
did.
took over.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on, I'm 56 and I'm sorry I spoke a little bit in the gym. But having said that, the gym was a place, like I said, that we took all very seriously. When we went in there was a reason why we went there, and obviously train hard. But I agree with you, and I think that's the level and what John talks about and yourself.
So since we're on the topic of training, Milos, if you've got a guy that has got a full-time job, he's working, like I said, we guys do, we're not professional bodybuilders. What's more sustainable long-term if you've got a certain amount of time, you got to pay your bills, you got to pay your mortgage? The giant set training I love because it's effective and it probably is less time-consuming as opposed to, having training programs based on German volume training and strength, high, long volume training like Lee Prix used to do, which I found very effective, but also the practicality of everyday life now that we lead with technology, you're always, hooked up to your work and stuff. What would you suggest moving forward? There's no right or wrong answer, but if you were to choose a training method, for someone like that, when you train someone, a client or a customer that's not a professional bodybuilder but loves the sport and wants to look good.
Yeah, people confuse my training as just a giant sets. No. I did a part of my training as giant sets as a sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, cell volumization, crazy pump.
Which I love,
Yeah, that is. That doesn't mean that you don't supposed to do some challenging progressive overload heavy duty, a couple of exercises for muscle group. So you have a heavy load and then you have a crazy pump. Dorian was doing just that crazy heavy to the failure and all that stuff, right? Do you really need to go to the failure? There is, that's the question. Throughout the years, I've seen gazillion people train and people that would never even come close to the failure, and they were monsters. One of the guys that I remember, Benaziza, Momo Benaziza.
Incredible.
Again, God bless his soul. He trained, pound for pound, he was one of the biggest ones, right? Okay, he did the very high reps, never to the failure. Serge Nubret, one of my favorite physiques. Never very heavy, never to the failure, never, Bill Pearl, one of the, initial kind of mass monsters, because he was
he had thickness.
big for his era, right? And we talk about this training to the failure, and I'll never forget when he just asked me, look at me straight in the eyes. He says, why would you want to fail in anything, right? And that's, do I really need to, right? And would you stimulate less growth if you stop short of failing, right? If you go for the muscle stimulation and the pump. So now when you're asking me, how should I recommend to anyone? Heavy duty type of training that Dorian did, 100% is going to destroy your tendons and ligaments.
Yes.
Okay? Because if you go all out, your body goes all out. It doesn't selectively choose muscle to go all out, but whatever is
Tendons.
attached to the muscle, right?
Yep.
Okay? So there is no way you can do this. Your body is not designed for that pounding. So, right? Now, if I would tell my younger generation, okay, save yourself, preserve your tendons. You don't need to go that heavy and that crazy, okay? But there is one thing, feeling the muscle, okay? And the other thing is feeling the movement, okay? We are bodybuilders, and I'm sure we talk about this isolation, but people don't really think. Example that I say on the legs, I don't know if you see me describing hex squats and stuff. You watch somebody from the side, and you can see they're doing movement. They're not putting a load on the quad, lowering with the quad, and raising the body with the quad. They do it with the whole body, and then they do that everywhere, right? So I don't like to do that. I like to isolate specific muscle and just push with that. And then when you pick up the weight, and maybe you want to introduce helping supporting muscles, so be it. You do 1 or 2 sets of these, there's no problem, right? Still, I would do always short of failing. You don't want to push to that crazy level. This would take you 20, 30 minutes to do a couple of exercises that way. Then 20, 30 minutes, okay, now go for a maximal pump. Like pump that you cannot be more pumped.
Yes.
And Charles used to say this, when you start losing a pump in a training, that's a sign to start going home, right?
Yes.
So if you do, more, no. I achieved the myofibril hypertrophy stimulation with a heavy, a couple of exercises of your choice that you can really put a heavier load and feel safe about it. Then go just for a pump, okay? And that's where I prefer my giant sets. So different angle, different grip, different tempo, different this, different that. You change all these parameters so you can attack the muscle, maximal stimulation of maximal muscle fibers, through angles and ranges and tempo and all that, grips, stances, change. I'm amazed how many people do exactly the same thing. They say, no, I don't need to change, okay? Stick with the basics. And I know this is going to probably sound bad, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is like saying you can have a sex, and you can only have a missionary position, the same tempo, same range, same this, same that. Why?
It's boring and no stimulation in the end.
So when you go to the gym and you start exploring different angles, different, you're just trying to be different. No, you're trying to be different. I want to experience this kind of pump and the feeling and all that stuff. So once you start really connecting with the muscle, you know how to use it. You can create your own exercises that you probably never read in any magazine. I tell you this, I have to confess, like back in a time, I got myself to the point that I'm tired and I go to the gym and I'm tired to the point that it's hard for me to do the standing exercises and even seated, right? So it's like, okay, what can I possibly do laying down? Because that's good, right? So I would create the exercises laying down, for biceps. Be creative. Enjoy yourself.
I was doing yesterday. I had a little bit of a sore back. Wanted to do quads, and I thought the best thing for me to do is pin-loaded machines. It stopped me from picking up weights, moving them up, moving them down. Just whatever I could do for legs on pin-loaded. I was just finding the machines I could do it. And I think something you said, which we do become complacent on, is we stop feeling it. We stop really focusing on the movement in relation to the muscle.
The mind-muscle
connection.
The
mind-muscle connection. Sometimes we just do the movement to get out of the gym. And what I found was it's not necessarily besides how fast you can make it, it's definitely just being in the moment with the muscle, the movement. And that's what I found with myself.
Yep.
Did you do a lot of time under tension stuff when you were competing?
Absolutely. So listen, okay. For you to think about next time you come in, every repetition, right? Anything you do, have a 4 points. Eccentric, lowering, right?
Yep.
Fully stretched, concentric, and fully shortened.
Yep.
Okay. So if you play with a tempo in any of those points, you can fully shortened means peak contraction, right? but you can squeeze for 1 second or for 2 or for 10, right? Eccentrically, you know how before, if you follow Charles Poliquin, would put the 4 numbers in each exercise, which determines those 4 points. And usually eccentrically would be like 4 seconds. And when you're stretched, sometimes it's X, like which right away you don't wait, or 1 second or 2 seconds. There are exercises that you have that stretch overload that you can prolong it. Yesterday, okay, I trained Rich Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
Rich Franklin is former UFC champion, right? And we did a couple of things, and I said, okay, we were doing pullovers, and he was popping the lats out and perfectly stretching. Okay, now we were changing tempo in the stretching. Then I told him something you never did. Let's now hold in the fully stretched position, heavy, for 10 seconds. Okay, lifted. Then for 9, for 8, for 7, and stuff like that. So you choose exercise that stretch, elongated position is really something you can establish that mind-muscle connection and fully lengthen. Beautiful. Then peak contraction, right? You can leg extensions, right? You can squeeze. You want to shorten, right? Well, no, you don't want to just shorten. You want to maximally shorten. You know, you don't want to time under the tension. You want to time under maximal tension.
Right.
It's a big difference if I squeeze a little bit or more, right?
Correct.
If you squeeze the Kamaniac, I talk about this, squeeze the juice out of the lemon. There are many exercises, biceps curl, right?
Yep.
You know, preacher biceps curl. Okay, play with this. Go 5 seconds down, 5 seconds up. Okay, do 10 seconds, 10 seconds. Hack squats, whatever. Start playing with the tempo. Once you find the exercise you like the one that you can really squeeze, contract like a maniac, beautiful. The one that you can appreciate eccentric portion, okay? And then appreciate concentric portion. Many people don't believe in super slow concentrics. And then
They kill
I debate, do the super slow concentrics on anything, on incline, bench press, or a shoulder press, on a bicep curls, on a hack squat, or whatever. Do the super slow concentrics and don't lock. And let me ask you how you felt that. It's a crazy question. If you want to explore that, but nobody's doing it.
They push it.
And you don't have to. I find you don't have to go as heavy. Well, you can't go as heavy when you're doing that kind of training. So your joints are a little bit safer too, and you get.
Look, when you say heavy, so if you do the heavy benches, heavy squats, or whatever else, there's no way you're gonna now say, okay, chest, do the work. Okay, quads, do the work. You're going heavy. You want to move that way, that sucker
right.
up.
Yeah.
There is no command. No. Your body is lifting, right? There's difference from movement, okay, or contraction. I like that contraction most of my training, but then when I'm ready, and maybe I say, okay, I'm now pre-exhausted already. My muscle is there, and I'm going to mostly move from that muscle anyway. But let the other muscles contribute.
Yes.
See, I'm not strictly about just isolation. So let's say you're doing bench presses, and this is wrong because now you're using also shoulders and the triceps. Okay. So you want to tell me that you don't also want to develop your shoulders and triceps? You just want to develop your chest? Okay. Shoulders and triceps are not allowed? Okay. Totally, so there is 2 groups of thinking, right? Just isolate. No, listen, once you're experienced and you can isolate the muscle and feel the muscle, okay, you use primarily that, but let the supporting muscles help out. Yeah. And so what if you stimulate them too?
Absolutely.
I agree. I want to go over all your comps, but one more pinned post because
I just don't know how one person can do 11 comps in a year or 10 comps in a year. But let's just say one more pinned post. You've got the 1999 Mr. Olympia prejudging. Tell us why that one's pinned up there and what Olympia meant for you.
Yeah, I think that was most competitive Olympia. 99.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to make that statement that 99 was the most competitive. I mean, Jay Cutler, looking crazy conditioned, look at, was 15 out of 16 guys. Right?
That's crazy.
Okay, so that tells you. Yeah, I was proud with that look. And again, like I said, best show in the on earth, 99 British, 99 Olympia. I think was the probably one of the best Olympias ever. If not, maybe I'm biased, but it looked crazy. Flex looked crazy. Chris Cormier was phenomenal. That's the best choice ever. Then Shawn and Kevin and Nasser. I mean, Lee Priest, Dexter Jackson.
Everyone was on.
Yeah. So, and I was a little bit bigger when you compare 97 and 99, 2-pin shows. So I show much more size in the 99, but I still prefer my 97 look. It just, we were going for the size, and I went like follow the blind. Okay, they go for the size. They want size, I'll give you size. But I didn't like it. So that's why if you compare these two, you tell me, if you look at 97 and 99, where do you think I look better? I do believe that 97 I was better, but I was proud of 99 look too.
A lot of bodybuilders say, even Shawn said it, a few others, whenever they got too big, they realized they weren't comfortable. They didn't do them any favors, and they went back again. They took a bit off because they needed to, because it just didn't work for them. It actually worked against them to put on too much size, and also to compete or to think to yourself it was about size. When I realized, even when we talk about you, Shawn Ray, even Lee Lambrada, I hear him talk about he wasn't going to beat him in size. He was going to beat him in symmetry, in the look, in the whole package. And that was what's going to make him win comps. And I realized that's when the light bulb went off about bodybuilding. It's not size. It's about the shape, the muscle quality, the equilibrium.
That's how it's supposed to be. It should be. For me, it's a shape, balance, symmetry, proportions, and then conditioning, much more than just blindly putting the muscle on. I think that Dorian did us a wrong favor, okay? Because I understand the judges. I asked Steve Weinberger, like, okay, 93, Dorian, right?
Oh, yeah, I know.
He says he was not human.
From 92 to 93, it was a big change.
Yeah. So, and I understand this. Look, I am all for Shawn Ray and Flex Wheeler kind of physiques, and they were second and third in 93. But I can completely understand judges. They gave it to Dorian because it was just too much. It was too much muscles, too much everything, conditioning. I understand. When I look at Jay Cutler, right? And I told him, again, I don't prefer his physique over guys like Kevin and Chris Cormier and, somebody like that. But when they're on the stage, and Dexter Jackson, like 2009, when he took back the title from Dexter, right? I love Dexter's physique. It's like one of my favorites. But he beat him. With the bodybuilding criteria of everything, yes, he has a wider waist, but he also had a much wider shoulders. So he created all this illusion. And then there was so much muscle that you must respect it. So I understand that they brought the classic physique afterwards because probably nostalgically looking for the physiques like Bob Paris or Serge Nubret or, Lee Labrada and guys like this that they were really in their own class, looking just beautiful.
Yeah. And the
But
posing routines are incredible as well. Like it's
Yeah.
Did you know that you guys were going to be just considered so iconic, so legendary, so every single one of you, to be honest, you're all called the GOAT. It's kind of like there's no pulling just Dorian out of the lineup. There's just every single one of you, and all of you say the same thing about each other, that lineup was the toughest, the biggest, meaning when I say big, we're saying about you, they're just, it was like
the magic.
well, not only the magic, but it was like a fine line between who, it was just so close, yet alone every single one of you talk about each other, not so much, it didn't matter where you positioned, it was just constantly spoken about the 90s and that lineup and the decade it was. And that decade was relentless in relation to the greats and each and every one of you. Did you know you guys were creating history?
I mean, yes, of course. Listen, I'm glad that I'm part of the history. I just don't classify myself in a group of guys like uncrowded Mr. Olympias, which are Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler, Shawn Ray,
Yep.
Chris Cormier. I would definitely add him to it. Lee Priest.
Yep.
I mean, by all means, he was so goddamn close. Look, 97, for example, when you talk about Nasser, possibly, I think Nasser deserved to beat Dorian.
Yeah.
Okay. Just 1 week later, we go to 7 different shows. Okay. And I mentioned this also, so I keep repeating myself, but I didn't do it to Australian audience. 97, Lee Priest looked crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris Cormier was 8th, Ronnie Coleman was 9th, I was 10th. Mind you, 1997, there was only 13 competitors.
But that's also
And,
the case.
And the guys that didn't make a top 10 was Charles Claremont, Mike Matarazzo, and Mike Francois. I mean,
All great
listen,
bodybuilders.
when there is 13 guys, somebody has to be first, somebody has to be last, right?
Yeah.
And then, you're not even in the running. Well, so what happened? We go to the first contest, okay, in Hungary. Kevin beat Nasser, right? And, for example, I beat Chris Cormier, okay? Next day, Chris Cormier beat Nasser. And Lee Priest was right there beating also the top guys, right? And then Ronnie Coleman took over, and Ronnie beat us all in this one European Grand Prix tour. It was crisscross, okay? So if you only compete in one show, and for example, you beat me, I was like, oh, you're supposed to be better than me. Okay, well, 7 days later, I beat you. Then what, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, there was like so many, all the guys that I mentioned, I think it's shame that they didn't get at least one Mr. Olympia. And the reason why they didn't, because there was Dorian Yates. He was special.
He was special. You were on the Jay Cutler show recently, and you're talking about, this is what you talked about: athletes preserving themselves. Like Derek at the moment is apparently going to do a show. Correct? What show is he going to do? He's doing the.
So I did the Pittsburgh.
He's going.
Listen, yeah.
But let me say this. I just want to mention this part. I don't want to be rude because I want to go. But this is you. Can I just explain Milos's competition history? Here we go. The person that talks about preserving. Here we go. Ready? All right. Let's just start with 1988, the AAU Mr. Universe lightweight. You came third. Then 1989, you did the WPF Mr. Universe lightweight first. But then
Light heavyweight.
Yeah, light heavyweight. That's correct. Then in 1991, is everyone patient? Everyone get your drinks because we're going to be here for a while. 1991, and I'm not going to say the word Grand Prix. I'll just cut that word out because I'm going to sound like I'm stuttering. So 1991 Grand Prix, Denmark, 5th. 91, England, 9th. 91, Finland, 4th. 91, Italy, 7th. 91, Spain, 7th. 91, Switzerland, 6th. Then 91, Niagara Falls Pro Invitational, 4th. 91, Night of Champions, 11th. 91, Mr. Olympia 16th. But wait, let's just do one more. 91, San Jose Pro Invitational 3rd. Now, I could go through and explain to you 92, which I think you did. One of the years you did one extra. I think 92 you did 11 shows. In 93 you did. I wrote him here. I can tell you now, right?
Yeah, please don't read 72 shows that people are gonna go bored.
No, because what I'm saying is 93 you did 10 comps. 96 you did 3 comps, right? 94 you did 6 comps. 95 you did 4 comps. 96 you did 3 comps. 97 11 comps. 98 6 comps. 99 7 comps. 2001, so I don't know what happened to 2000, you did 2 comps. 2002 you didn't do, and 2003 you did 2 comps. 72 IFBB pro competitions. Did you use bodybuilding to go see the world? Like you and Chris Cormier must have just gone traveling the world.
No, I mean, the big part of which I love about my career and no regrets is being able to see all the countries.
Yeah.
And look, when you travel, you're seen, you make contacts, you come back for guest posings. And, if I have a commodity of staying there for extra few days, I would always stay extra few days so I can see all the countries, right? I love that. But talking about Derek and preserving himself, and I didn't preserve myself.
No, you didn't.
Look, for me, I'm pro bodybuilder. That's my job, and I can't go on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule if I have a Tuesday and Thursday that I still have to work, right? So for me, every contest was opportunity. So that's why I competed, and I competed in all calendar shows in 3 different years, right? Everything organized, I did everything because I felt, I supposed to. Years that I didn't do as much, 95 and 96, I didn't do it because there was overwhelming mass monster push. The people were going for this crazy look. And I chose, instead of competing, and like I said, in 7 shows, make 0 money, placing out of top 5, I did 11 different countries, European tour and guest posing, and I made, considerable amount of money.
Yeah.
So from business perspective, this is what I chose to. 97, as I felt very comfortable with my body, that pinned Canada Pro that I actually won, I said, I'm going to be encouraged. It doesn't matter where I place. I'm going to compete in all the shows. And like I said, 97 European Grand Prix Tour, I made 0 money. Okay. I enjoyed myself fully. I loved it. Okay. Because I was compared with Nasser and Kevin and Lee and Vince Taylor and, Chris Cormier and everybody. So what if I didn't win? It's subjective opinion of few people called judges. Okay. If 3 of us are competing right now, I'm not going to tell you and say I'm better than you. Why would I say I'm better than you? What makes me better, right? I'm just going to present myself to my best abilities. And then, okay, if qualified judges place me there, it's fine. And I was still competitive. And I just love everything about it. Camaraderie. Listen, there are a million stories I can tell you with anybody. Lee Priest at that 97 tour, there was Paul Dillette and Nasser. I mean, priceless memories. After all, and that's what Dana White says, which I really true. Life is nothing but a collection of memories, and you better have good memories with good people.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
I've got a few questions from some of the fans. I should ask them quickly, but one is creatine on fat loss. Fat loss, yes or no?
I mean, creatine is not used for a fat loss, right? Obviously, creatine is most valuable supplement you can, possibly take, and this is why it made such a boom in the industry, right? It makes a huge difference, but it's definitely not fat burner, by no means. Now, I remember from mid 90s when it became popular, And I remember how they were saying, like, oh my God, it makes you hold water. So
It did it to me in the 90s. It made me hold water. Yeah.
well, you know, listen. Okay, you want to see it? I'm gonna prove it to you, because would I lie to myself? Okay, would I lie writing down? So here,
I think it was what I was eating.
Possibly.
no, I
sure.
don't want to show you.
But I do remember first taking creatine, I exploded.
Maybe the loading phase was a little bit wrong.
Yeah, it was
No. Hold on.
I,
Do you wanna,
I was
we,
like,
we talked about that Night of the Champions look, right?
Yeah.
97.
yeah,
Okay, so these are. I'm gonna maybe go closer here.
yeah, got it.
Okay, do you see the phosphagen?
Turkey, rice. No, sorry, which one? Which one?
Phosphagen, yep.
Yeah.
You see how many phosphagens I took? That's a creatine, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I was loading with the creatine. This was Thursday. Okay, here's also Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Major creatine loading.
Yeah.
Creatine loading, and day before creatine loading.
Yeah.
Phosphagen. Okay, and my best condition, and that same thing I did for that 97 Canada Pro.
Yep.
Okay, creatine loading for the show. Oh my God, it makes you hold water. Yes. Where does creatine phosphate can go to? Replenish ATP. ATP is what? Adenosine triphosphate cellular energy. Cellular is what? Intracellular.
Yes.
So it makes you hold water. Yes. Exactly where you want it to hold.
That's right.
Inside the muscle.
In the muscle belly.
Okay. If you're not in a shape, you're gonna have that feeling of, oh yeah, I'm bloated.
That's
No,
right.
you can't.
Absolutely. How many milligrams were you?
No, this is like, okay, I was taking 50 grams
50
a day.
grams, sorry.
Now 20 was the loading, right?
Yes.
Again, because somebody said so. And the only reason why I'm showing you this, would I lie to myself? Like, you remember that Nasser El Sonbaty story?
Yes.
When he was 94 in my house, and then he read these, right? And then he even made a comment, you just made this to trick me. I say, Nasser, this is like 10 meals a day, okay, for 365 days a year. I wrote this because I knew that 1994, you're going to come visit me in San Diego, and I can trick you with it. Are you crazy? Right? So the reason why I'm showing this to everybody, this is my journal of what I did. 97, Canada and Night of the Champions, I think I looked phenomenal. Okay?
You did.
I did creatine loading. That should answer you the question of where does it make you hold water?
Yeah.
Okay? It does make you hold water where you wanted to put water, intracellular.
I think you just told me that I was eating shit at the time. I just
You probably did.
no way. No, but it was. But you know what?
probably didn't maximize.
No, you know what? I didn't even know how much I was taking, to be honest. I think I got excited with it. It put on some size, and I think I started throwing more food down, and it just went crazy. But that was the exploration in the 90s. You just tried things. You didn't really, you tried things. It wasn't.
I tried this. Listen, nobody would tell me this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nobody would tell me this. But we were at Joe Wheeler's, all the athletes and editorial, and all the scientists and doctors, Dr. Feliciano, Dr. Wright, they were all there. And then somebody asked that question, and my logic, which I presented right there, is, listen, if it makes you hold water, it makes you hold water in the right places. And this is why I did it. And then I pushed like 30, 40 grams for Canada, and I pushed 50, 60 grams for Night of the Champions. All this circled, I don't know if you could see it, read it, they're all 10 grams at a time, which is overkill. Right now, what they're telling you, for health purposes, take 5 grams a day, maybe 10 grams the athletes, and 20 was loading phase. Okay, the same like protein. They used to tell you eat 0.36 grams per pound. That's RDA, recommended daily allowance. For what?
For someone that sits someone that sits at their desk and doesn't do any training.
Exactly.
And the same myth applies to salt and, the salt loading. Like yourself, who was a big advocate of using salt, Standard Ferding and guys like that,
Yes,
always talked about salt volumizing.
The next question was that question was by Dusan_Pantovic. I don't know, but I will put that up anyway. So we know, yeah, Pantovic, yeah, I think Dusan. Sohino 9 said, "Is the British Grand Prix '99 your best look?"
97, no.
97 was, you remember, I think you said.
I'll tell you this, probably judges would give my 99 British Grand Prix look over my 97, but because they would go for a size, if I'm a judge, I would give a 97 all day long.
Okay. Well, this is maybe a good one for me. Rak Damir asked, what's a cutting tip for summer?
Cutting tip for summer? Yeah. Okay, well, listen.
I need to know
so this comes into that territory that you have a off-season and, cutting phase. That doesn't supposed to be that way, because right after summer, you're going to pig out again and get yourself out of the shape. I had that fight with some people. Off-season and get big, and it feels good to be big. Nobody likes to be big and out of shape. When you are ripped to the bone and you feel every fiber and you feel the abs and intercostals and fibers all over the place, there is no better feeling on earth. So for this guy that wants to get in shape, obviously, you should do some cardio, caloric deficit, and get yourself there. But follow my plan. It's not a specific amount of weeks diet. It's like 24-hour diet. Protein every 3 hours. Make sure that you get your amino acids. Okay, you cover the basis for protein, and energy you do accordingly to what you're going to do. If you train, you can have carbs before and after, but then you have to create caloric deficit. Have a fat burning phase of the day, maintenance phase of the day, and anabolic phase of the day. This is my principle. So all of you, 24 hours a day, right? If you are in shape, you can only just have a maintenance phase. And then when you train, you have an anabolic phase. That's when you saturate the blood with the nutrients, you deliver them, and you shove it into the muscle. That's an anabolic phase. The maintenance is, okay, amount of protein and carbs or carbs and fat, no problem, for next 3 hours. But that's not going to make you burn fat. Now you have to throw in fat burning phase. You can have 1 or 2, which is empty stomach, cardio, caloric deficit. Cardio burns fat. Training burns carbs. Well, if you want to burn fat, you throw in a couple of cardio sessions, and you 100% for sure you can check in. Like I would always check a good day, good week, a good month, right? Yeah. So the guy that is cutting, if you don't have much time, you have to be a little bit more aggressive with the fat burning phases. But maintain the muscle, because if you starve yourself and you keep losing the muscle, you're going to shut down your metabolism. Muscle is metabolically active. You don't want to run on less calories. You want to run on high calories, but still burn fat.
Yes.
Yeah, you can keep yourself in shape year round.
It's funny how many people have changed. So you're telling me, correct me if I'm wrong, and I am at the moment, I found this has worked for me and also helped me lose kilos. But hold muscle is food frequency. I eat still 5 meals a day. I even eat 6 meals a day, right? When I was eating 2 meals a day, I couldn't lose weight. When I changed it around and got the motor running, and the last thing I did, which I said to myself was, you know what? A fundamental, go for a walk, the good old coastal walk, the bodybuilding walk. Go for a 5K walk, medium pace, not a power walk, just a good walk, but movement. And like you said, and then I found I was leaning up again, and that were the 90s fundamentals. We incorporated bodybuilding, frequency of food, pre-workout, post-workout, and then we incorporated the cardio side. But now everyone talks about you don't need any of that, it's your food. Just eat less calories.
Yeah, and then time-restricted feeding, this intermittent fasting and all this shit. I mean, come on. This is what the people are coming. Why? Because a lot of people are not disciplined and they eat whatever. So now they're going to time restricted, right? So they're so many hours, 16 hours a day, they're not going to be abusing and using nutrients that they don't supposed to. Well, you're supposed to always use the nutrients that your body needs.
Yes.
And then frequency. A lot of experts would say it doesn't make a difference if you eat whatever in 5 meals or 2 meals. Okay. So they have the stupid studies and all that stuff. I say, who are you kidding?
Yeah.
And a gram of theory, a gram of practice can be heavier than ton of theory. So I can listen to that research and applaud and but I'm going to do it myself, do it the way, I think is right. Meal frequency is guaranteed way to go. Do you want to overload and have too much at once?
Yeah.
Okay. First, volumize your stomach, stretch your sphincter muscle, right? And have an excess of calories at once. And then later on, you have an absence of calories and nutrients. What sense does that make?
No,
absolutely not.
Did
you find steady state cardio more beneficial to HIIT cardio, where again Charles used to talk about doing short burst cardio, and to be honest, for me it worked better. I think, like what Steve was talking about, going for that nice coastal walk that's more of a relaxing thing after. Whereas opposed to like the purposefulness of burning calories.
Okay, so here it is, burning calories. If you do Steve's slow and steady, 65% of your maximum heart rate, right? Walk nicely. What is substrate of utilization? What is the calories that are coming from? Fat exclusively. So you burn only fat. Once you increase that intensity, you also increase the possibility of burning the carbs with it.
Yes.
Okay? Not just fat. Because the question is, should you do a slow, steady cardio or interval kind of all out and slow? And so if it's slow, steady cardio, 65-70% the maximum heart rate, that respiratory exchange ratio, RER, is 0.7. Okay. Once you start increasing the heart rate, it goes to maybe 0.75, 8, which start including also carbs as a fuel, not just fat. And then if you go to the 1, it's carbs only, right? So when we do cardio, we want to do cardio for what reason? To burn fat. Okay, so you want to use fatty acids. That's why I'm all for slow, steady cardio. But if I have a people that with a shutdown metabolism, they're what Charles would call them fat bastards, and they need to boost their metabolism, then I would do intervals. Yeah. And even if they sacrifice a little bit of muscle mass, because like I said, that could be catabolic. You want to do cardio just to burn fat, not to burn calories total.
Yeah.
If you just want to burn calories from the fat, you do slow steady. If you want to burn calories and expand your metabolic rate for a long period of time, you can do this, but it's somewhat catabolic. Then you have to do anti-catabolic, things.
Yes.
And Charles was big on phosphatidylserine, for example, as an anti-catabolic thing that you do before that interval training. For example, if that's what is going to make you do.
I know Bob Paris was one of your favorite bodybuilders. Who's been your favorite bodybuilder?
Yeah, physique-wise, brings in obviously Bob Paris. I love Flex Wheeler. I like Charles Claremont. Aesthetic guys. These are the guys. Of course, I have all the respect for Lee Haney. I think that what he presented at the time, 80s, and I had a pleasure of being with him on a 91 stage, was something special. He was dominant. And then, of course, after that, I've seen domination of Ronnie Coleman, which was quite impressive because we basically grew together through the ranks from early 90s to he competed much later than me. I already quit. Just imagine 8 consecutive Mr. Olympias and dominating, for a while. So I would say he is the GOAT as far as what he achieved. And probably his physique at his best would beat any other physique by bodybuilding terms.
So if you put all the Olympians together, all of them on one stage, who would be your number one?
Ronnie Coleman.
I would have to agree.
Ronnie Coleman. No? Yeah, incredible. Absolutely. Incredible.
It's just incredible when you go through those names that your resume competing with all those guys is absolutely incredible. I would have been happy to be the janitor on stage with people like that, let alone competing, being extremely competitive with such amazing talent like the guys you competed with. Like, I have to take my hat off to you, Milos. It's incredible. Like, sometimes I don't think we realize who we're speaking to when we have these podcasts, but it's just a pleasure to speak to someone of that caliber. And the knowledge that you bring is just, and the matter of factness is just, and the research that you've done, and more importantly, the things that you've put into practice with other athletes and proved that these things work.
Well, listen, with each athlete, like you say yourself, it's trial and error and assumption of what would work. This is why I always said, inspect what you expect. If you truly want to maximize every aspect, you structure the plan, but then within a week, you see if it's going in the right direction. And if it's not, you change a few parameters, right? And then that's how you grow. So I have the guys that I expected they need much more of something, but they needed much less, and vice versa. I mean, there are examples all over the place, like even for a contest prep, peaking for a contest, how much carbs would take somebody to fill up the glycogen storage. It varies like tenfold. I have a guys that would literally need 10 times less than somebody else, similar size, okay? Those are those individual things that you can predetermine. Like, okay, if it's cookie cutter, it's not how it goes. You have to observe and see, Jesus. So that's how it is. I'm a bro scientist. I'm not PhD, and I'm not somebody that did university study and research, right? But I'm dealing with the elite of the elite, right? All this research is sometimes done with the grandmas across the street and teenage, Ninja Turtles, doing some stupid things. And now they have a study and they focus on the study. This is one thing I'm going to tell you. I was in Nottingham University back in the day and talking to a professor. I shouldn't say his name. He actually wrote this book. I just reference, So he was doing some research for a very famous supplement company. Again, I'm not going to say name to get him in trouble. So the advertisement in the magazines back in the time was, oh, this supplement company spent $5 million and Nottingham University approved whatever. Well, he did a study and the supplement was worthless, but they did spend $5 million. So the thing is that part of the advertisements was correct, but the results were tampered with, right? And that's what us as the consumers, we would not know. It sounds so beautiful and sexy, or it does all these things, and it's proven. As soon as you have a stamp of approval, now all of a sudden, oh yeah, it's researched, and it gets the value. The best guy for that, Bill Phillips, back in the day. You remember Body for Life?
Bill Phillips.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great marketer and advertiser. He told me he can, if there is a study about dog shit, he can package it and sell it. Right?
Incredible.
It doesn't matter what it is. If it's published study.
He was an amazing marketer, that's for sure. I think he was one of the goats of that industry.
So for anybody that is moved with the studies, right, you have to really look deep into it. They can put those scales and 100 times more and 300 times more. So if it's on a gram scale or a milligram scale or a nanogram scale, you're not going to pay attention. There is maybe nanogram scale, like spit in an ocean kind of thing, 0. But on the scale, it looks so sexy, right? And now all of a sudden, I'm using this because there is study about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Experiment for yourself.
And this is, and
this
is where I sort of struggle with the bodybuilding world at the moment, that obviously with social media and all these platforms, I feel like somewhat the beautiful sport of bodybuilding has been hijacked by so many influencers that haven't got enough skin in the game of the trial and error, and to sort of guide people in the right direction. There are some great influencers out there, but I just feel like you go to a gym now and every meter there's a tripod with a camera, and it's like, what are you doing differently to the 5 million other people that are filming the same movement today? And that's why I get upset when guys like Milos Sarcev should be at the forefront. They should be, because you guys have lived on these gym floors. You have seen, you have trained, you have
practiced.
And I just...
Listen, I don't mean it all. Listen, you hear the information from influencers, and sometimes it's wonderful information, and sometimes it's worthless, but if you accept it, so be it. I don't need the approval. Everything that I said like 1,000 times already, right? My principles are very well known. I basically even talked to you about in this one, my principle of dieting, training, it's always the same story, very simple to follow.
Yes.
How do you feel about, we'll finish up soon now, how do you feel about, you spoke about men's physique, there's been a big topic about men's physique, how are you feeling about that?
Well, yeah, listen, I looked back in the day like a men's physique guy.
Yeah.
And I got hundreds of covers, okay, because it's appealing. It's very appealing, right? Why did they bring men's physique? Because a lot of people don't want to be extreme bodybuilders and have that freaky look. I understand. That was perfectly okay. Which I have a problem with is that, okay, if you want more attainable look of the whole physique, why would you limit to just upper body? That's what I was discussing. I mean, which a lot of people take it wrongly because leave the category as it is. Again, why on earth would you cover the half of the body? And any fans, they're fans of these guys, would they be lesser fans if they would see the legs?
True.
I think they would be, or are they less marketable if they show the legs also? But no, it's just cater for this kind. Okay. Then define, why did you bring it? Oh, to have a more attainable look. Okay. Should men train legs?
Yeah.
Legs are where power comes from, athleticism, your strength. So if you discourage people from training legs because we're not going to judge them, it's a very bad message that you're sending. But it's accepted, and I know there is popular class, so I don't want to say a single bad thing about it. Listen, I love their physiques.
Yeah.
I love upper body that I see. So I would love to see the rest of the body. And on my Instagram, I posted some of the men's physique that, Brandon Hendrickson, 3 times men's Olympia men's physique champion, crazy legs.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I trained first men's physique Olympia, Mark Anthony, killing him on the legs. He has legs, right? I have a Jin Sano from Japan doing 5 plates squats in the gym here 3 minutes away from me, right? Yeah. It's men's physique. Aaron Banks, I posted his video, has very good legs. So for me, if it's physique, show me the whole physique. Don't show me just upper body. But I guess that's a category that is accepted that way. They want it that way. It's very popular. So, I should probably just zip it up and not say anything else.
Should we bring back hot skins?
Listen, I post my picture with the hot skins.
I know. I know, man. You look, the hot skins were hot then, mate. Everyone had hot skins. They were amazing.
It's just, I don't think that the beach look means cover the legs.
Yeah.
In Europe, in Greece,
yes,
in Serbia, you wear Speedos.
Oh, we do.
Yep.
We do.
I don't know in Australia what you do right now, but,
not much.
Hey, we like to see female legs,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
Maybe they want to see a male legs too. Legs are beautiful, beautiful muscle, right? Why would you cover it?
I agree. What about the other big talk, which is pro cards?
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Honestly, if you have hundreds of pro cards, right? And let's say, like back in the 90s, 75% probably of the people that are pros would enter the show. Okay, so now if 50% of 400 pros enter the show, there would be 200 guys on the stage. How can you even judge that?
It's incredible.
We had 60-something classic guys at the Olympia stage, and probably same thing about men's physique. And you keep getting more and more and more. You're diluting, I think, the quality. You can ask Lee Priest. Back in the day, when you see a pro, it's a pro.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
100%. Well, I guess you guys not only did you did the pro circuit, like it was crazy. The amount of shows you did, the pro circuit was incredible.
No, but listen, I said that story before. I came to U.S. and there was this wonderful older lady in a gym that I train in, and she looked like she doesn't really train. It's just like you appreciate that she's in the gym 6 days a week and she does her cardio and all this stuff, but not the physique of any kind, right?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, I came and she brought like big trophies. Oh, she won this contest and overall. And then she showed me pictures. It's like, oh my God. Okay. So I said, can I see the comparison pictures? And she said, no, I was the only one competing. Okay. So that explains.
Yeah.
So I know that there were some shows that the level of competition is so low that the winner doesn't deserve the pro card,
Yep.
but they get it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I would like to say, that you should stricten the criteria and don't give so many pro cards.
No, I think you're right. Before we go over the body, because we want to go over the body and then we'll finish up. If you could go back, would you change anything? Would you utilize something better? Would you do less shows? I don't know. What would you change if you could? If I said, Milos, we're going back, what would you do?
Like I said, I don't like to talk about negative things.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to say one thing that I do regret. I said publicly, and that was a synthol use that I was weak-minded, and I accepted to use the synthol, and that really ruined my career. So that's the thing that I would change.
All right.
The only thing that I would change. As far as competition,
No.
you mentioned, you read some of my seasons. 1994, I chose to have a longer off season and miss the early shows and then go for the Olympia and European tour. And I didn't like it. I liked the pressure of a frequent competition, because especially when you're lean and contest lean, that rebound post-competition, you can actually bump up your calories from good nutrients, right? And really refresh your body and kind of put quality muscle mass a little bit easier than if you have that off-season type. Because in off-season type, I would be afraid to bump up the calories and nutrients that much. Here, when I was super ripped, no body fat whatsoever, it was much easier, and then I could see what I can get away with. This is how my journals actually changed, that I could see, I underestimated my caloric intake and requirement. I could add to it. You see, a lot of guys, and maybe Joe looks like he would be one of those, it's super strict, and he would not allow himself maybe amount of carbs and amount of calories total, because I need to be strict and all that stuff. This is what I was. But then when you're super lean, you have no body fat. I already mentioned, none of us wants to put the body fat on. We only want to put the muscle.
Yeah.
But as you're putting a muscle and you realize, I could get away with extra 100 grams of carbs and actually look better, feel better, and put the quality size. Which means I underestimated before, and I didn't maximize. So when I had a frequent contest, I could use that rebound phase very easily to my benefits. And I think I grew much better, from frequent competitions, because right after the contest, you can bump up the calories and have that freedom of, letting yourself have more.
Yeah.
I like the answer.
I'm a true believer in that too.
What's that?
I think Milos is 100% right. I think I'm a true believer in that. When you come off that situation and you can increase your calories, you do build muscle better that way.
Between my age, the 20 and 30s, that's what I was like. Like, John's strict, but I was insanely...
Not anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, but myself too. I'm just saying, but definitely if I kept the pedal down, it was better for me. I think backing off the pedal was, a little bit. I thought maybe you might have said that you might have reserved the tank a little bit, but no, you wanted to keep going, and I understand that, and I get, I get that.
Well, listen, you rest when you die. There's no, reserve the tank and all this. What I was saying now, you reminded me about Derek Lansford, right? I competed constantly. So if this is what you're referring to in a Jay Cutler podcast, I was surprised that he signed up for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Not that I don't approve it. Oh my God. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I love it. It just, you see, he is at Olympia level winner, Arnold Classic winner, just dethroned Samson Dauda, which is crazy. So that's the momentum that he gained. And this kind of competition is a risk because it's 10 weeks apart. Okay. If it's 2 weeks apart and you're already in condition, it's very easy, right? But 10 weeks apart means, that you have to stay on for 10 more weeks. And, this is what I was referring to. But I'm delighted that he's doing, and that it shows his confidence. Listen, he's going against Martin Fitzwater that was placed behind him. He was third, he was fourth. And Nick Walker, that was top 3 Olympia last time he was on Olympia stage. And Good Vito, that is super dangerous. I'm sure you've seen the pictures of him.
Yeah.
He's doing the show this weekend in Brazil, right? Then Michael Krizo, freak.
Yeah.
Okay, so I commend him for having guts to do it and risking.
Why is he doing it, though? Why is he doing it? Why do you think he's doing it?
Listen, why did I do all my shows?
But that's
I love competing.
But that's why that's why I was saying, like, on the
believes he can win.
Okay, because on the Cutler podcast you were surprised, but like you said, you're excited about it. But I thought, wow, you had the pedal to the metal. Did the guys back then push so hard? But these boys, he's going for it, and you're happy about it as well.
So this is what it is. If he is not 100% on, he can lose.
Right.
If he loses, he did himself a huge disfavor, right? Right now, he just dethroned the Olympia champion. He came at his all-time best. So he's going to have to repeat or better it. And unfortunately, in our sport, it's not just what you bring on stage. Sometimes you're judged with your previous best. And so, he's not as good as, let's say, at the Arnold Classic. Then what?
No, I agree. I agree. All right, let's go over the body. I'm gonna give you a body part, just sets and reps. Your favorite exercise. That's all it is. So traps.
There's one thing you can do for traps. Shrugs. What else?
Shrugs. Yeah. Sets and reps.
There's no neither sets or reps. You can go heavy, or you can do the drop sets. Listen, the whole theory of sets and reps is that volume. What are you going to do, and how heavy you're going to go? I don't even want to go into that sex. You can do progressive overload and start with the high reps and then lower. I don't have any formula here because rep can be with a tempo that you squeeze for 1 second, lower for 1, or 4 and 4, 10 and 10. Then it's different if you do 10 reps with a 10 seconds peak contraction or a 1 second peak contraction. So for me,
shrugs.
I'm not talking about sets. I can talk about my favorite exercise for each body part, but sets and reps is pointless.
All right, I'm not going to go sets and reps then. We'll just say the body part. All right, so traps is shrugs. Delts, front delts.
It's only overhead presses, front raises, but no. One favorite, overhead. I actually like to do machines rather than dumbbells or barbell, because machines are made to isolate. And if you want to isolate, there are many very good machines. Of course, I'm a big proponent of a new tech from Korea, Olympia, actually official equipment company. They have a wonderful shoulder press machine. But they have many other, so I'm not going to say this is the only one. I like seated machine shoulder press overhead. Yeah, because you don't need to use stabilizers, neutralizers, and everything else. You can just isolate the front delt.
Beautiful. Side delts.
side laterals. Look, I use everything, cables, dumbbells, or machines. It's really the path that you lift the weight. If you use a cable, you can prolong the range of motion. You don't just go against the gravity, you can go against the low pulley. So I liked doing a cable, but I love dumbbells, and usually I would like to do ascending, descending. So side delts, if you guys have guts to do it, you pick like 3 dumbbells to ascend, go heavier, heavier, heavier. And then when you reach the heaviest that you can do, 6, 8, 10 reps, then you go down. So descend.
Okay. I like that. I was visualizing it. Rear delts.
Rear delts, yeah. There was one machine that I really liked, but bend over laterals, of course. If machine is designed perfectly, again, new tech rear delt is perfect. So lately I've been doing this because, like I said, I would be lazy to stand and bend over. I'm more comfortable sitting, right? And I want to really isolate. Or reverse pec deck machines, excellent. I used to like to do one arm low pulley cable bend over a lateral raises. That was my favorite because at any point you can have that peak contraction, and then you can go eccentrically with a slower tempo. Yeah, but if I have to pick one, yeah, I would do machine rear delt. Also, it's not a muscle that you need to do heavy duty. You need more isolation. That's why the 3 distinctive parts of a delt, front, side, rear, I like isolation.
Yeah, no, I train them all separately, like meaning I even give them different days. Back, laterals.
Yeah, reverse pull downs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, as Dorian would do the pullovers first, especially if it's a good pullover machine. Back in the day, there was that Nautilus. And then combined a lot of great backs that I know they supersetted pullovers with the pull downs, because they pre-exhaust and then just continue. Yeah, reverse grip for sure. That's what Mike Manzer liked, right? Yeah. Bend over rows, yeah, heavy duty, but execution have to be perfect, and it's compromise. You use too many other muscles, right? So I would use reverse pull downs.
Okay.
I love pullovers. Listen, I would tell everybody that pullover is one of those exercises that you must include in every workout.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, pullovers.
All right, I'm going to incorporate pullovers. I've done them a little bit, but not incorporate them so much. Chest.
Obviously, people are going to go for incline barbells or dumbbells or a machine.
Everyone says that, yes.
Yeah, that's what they would do as the bread and butter of this. I like flies way better than press because obviously if it's horizontal shoulder adduction, right? This is where you can squeeze the most and use the chest the most. And I could do perfect dumbbell flies that the muscle is screaming. I can get pumped and isolate just chest. Any pressing movement, you involved shoulders and triceps, and usually shoulders, okay? But it sounds heavy duty, and people like to do like inclines. Yeah, I would still put dumbbell flies. If there's one exercise, one only that I can do to the rest of my life, there'll be a dumbbell flies on the flat bench.
On the flat bench. Okay. I
Oh, yeah.
was going to ask that
I
question.
absolutely love it. And I mean, if I would ever see you and show you, you would feel fiber completely elongating, right? And then you don't lift the weight. You visualize contraction of a pecs, and that contraction actually raise the arms. But then you can have that peak contraction with the flies that you don't really have with the presses. Because if you press at the top and you lock your elbows, you lose resistance. I mean, it's no point of a peak contraction on the pressing movement. Okay? Peak contraction for the chest only works on the flying movement.
Very good. Abs, I'm thinking leg raises.
Yeah.
Leg.
Or superset that I already said, hanging leg raises and the cable crunches. I love cable crunches. Don't get me wrong. You can, if you do it correctly, you can stretch your abs like so much, and then when you squeeze, and that's also the thing. You have to pull from the abs, not from the shoulders and arms and everything, right? Which a lot of people do. This is just a hook, and the only thing is abs contracting.
Bicep.
I loved concentration curls. A lot of people are going to say preacher bench, Scott bench. Yeah, it's very popular. But kind of concentration curls that Arnold did in a pumping iron, even though he did a little bit more explosively. I would do it with the elbows out and forward, and then supinated and squeeze the juice out of the lemon at the top. That's an exercise that you can feel your biceps exploding. So concentration curls for a biceps, I would be standing, leaning, rather than seated with the elbow into the leg.
I haven't seen that. No one's been posting anything like that. No one's been saying. And I said to someone yesterday about the concentration curls. I hardly see anyone doing concentration curls.
Ooh, that peak contraction that you're going to achieve is phenomenal. And then position, you usually stretch the biceps completely.
You do.
If you do the preacher curls and barbell or whatever, a lot of people don't go all the way down. They don't stretch all the way down. They do those partials. But concentration curl, for sure, if you stick your elbow forward in, and you do parallel, and supinate, you're going to stretch completely, and then you're going to squeeze at the top like a maniac. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Tricep.
Yeah, triceps has to be pushed down, obviously. It's like such a beautiful exercise. Yeah. And you can use the different grips. There's no human on earth that would not establish mind-muscle connection in the push down. Right?
Yeah, true.
I mean, everything else is okay. Close grip benches, dips, whatever, overhead tricep extensions. But you don't achieve that same pump and the feeling as a push down. Single arm, double arm, but doesn't matter. A lot of people like single arm, changing the grips.
What about forearm? And why do I hear people saying, I don't do forearm, it gets worked anyway?
Yeah, a lot of people do that. They say that, listen, back in our time, we were doing everything. It's a must. Using a barbell on a bench, obviously. And we were doing both, both directions, obviously. But now that you said it, I haven't seen it for 2 decades. Anybody do the forearms in the gym?
What's that guy that won? Is it the 270 class? What's his name?
There's no such a thing as a 270 class.
Sorry. What was it? The smaller size guys. The
212.
The 212. Sorry, the 212. That's what I meant. Sorry, I apologize. Who won the 212 class?
Keon Pearson.
I think he trains. I've watched him do forearms.
I mean, I hope so. I don't know. I haven't. I saw him in the gym many
I can't
times.
believe I did 270.
I mean, I'm not joking. I haven't seen anybody do forearms for 2 decades.
I know, but he has. That's why I was surprised.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's doing forearms. It was he actually was, and I was surprised. And for 2 decades, like you said.
I think when you see the 80s and 90s bodybuilders, I just think their development, like that's what we're talking about, the lines and the symmetry, that no muscle was left unattended to. Like even the forearm,
That's right.
even their forearm development was like second to none. Even your forearms, I remember.
No,
Just
my
when you're-
forearms are never good. You know, I have a large bone. I'm, mesomorphic. So it's not good when you have a thick wrist.
got the same.
Yeah,
I
it's
remember-
Flex Wheeler, right? When
With the
John
small
Brown,
joints, yeah. That's the
when they have a
illusion.
smaller joint, it looks like so much better. I mean, when I stand next to like Flex Lewis, for the love of God, you've seen his forearms? Jesus Christ.
Even Lee Priest's forearms is the size of my whole quad.
Yeah, Lee Priest. Oh my God. Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
probably Lee is most extreme. Now that I think. Sergio Oliva, I was at Dragon's Lair, and there was Ramon from Brazil, right? Classic physique. Ramondino,
Yes.
crazy forearms,
Yeah, he's got crazy
Flex
forearms.
Lewis,
Yeah, he's got crazy forearms.
and Sergio Oliva. And I photoshopped my forearm right next to them, you know. I purposely photoshopped and made it exaggerated, right? So, people are going to notice. And then later put the real picture. I mean, they're twice my size.
Well, like you said, that's the question I've asked a lot of bodybuilders on the podcast, and everyone knows. No, 2 things they don't train: traps, and they don't train forearms. Everyone's not doing traps, not doing forearms, and guess what else they're not doing? Abs. A lot of them aren't even doing abs. They're saying it's in the kitchen. Abs are the kitchen. And the traps they're saying when I do, RDLs, or when I'm doing this exercise, when I'm doing that exercise. And forearms, they're all talking about forearms are built doing RDLs or doing curls, whatever. But like you said, and John just said, I just know that everything is attended to. Everything is my connection to the muscle. And at the same time, I find visualization while I'm doing the exercise. I get in there to believe it's growing as well.
Yeah, listen, the abs are so important. Shawn Ray is the one that gave me that advice, because I had great abs anyway, right? But he says, like, when you have something that good, make it even better. Let it stand out. Make it even deeper, which I did. So I told you I trained twice a day, right?
Yeah.
So every time before I would start, I would do 3 supersets, leg raises, and cable crunches. Okay. How long does it take?
Not long.
5 minutes.
That's right.
Nothing. And then when I trained twice a day, they would be doing before 2 workouts, right? Closer to the contest, I would do it before and after. So every workout. So
Wow.
at the beginning, at the very end. There is no better feeling than when abs are like glued to your spine.
Yeah.
When you feel that, oh my God. I mean, every time when you do that superset, you can stick the finger in, right? And you have that control. I mean, I keep telling this to everybody on the stage. They lose abs and legs. Look at it. You can't lose your chest and shoulders if you try to, right?
Yeah.
If you stand on the stage, try to make your chest smaller. You can't. Or shoulders, right? Okay, you can drop shoulders and maybe not be as wide, but or arms. But if you lose your stomach and you use your legs, your whole body goes to shit.
It does go to shit. There's no denying.
And abs, because they're not trained, they're not controlled. I would tell everybody, all day long, your abs should be glued to your spine.
Mm.
And you would hear Marilyn Anthony talk about, God damn, Milos, you still, because you told me back in the day when I go into the car and put the seat belt and I drive the car, keep my abs in. And he still does it to this day. If I would tell you guys like right now, right? Okay, try to squeeze your abs in.
I'm doing it now.
So because this is the muscle that you don't push out. This is the muscle that you push in. And then you want to create a separation, right? Other muscles you want to make, big and push out. This is what you want to push in. When I look at them train and they let their stomach go, okay, I get pissed off. If you let your stomach go now, you probably let all day long, and there is a danger you're going to let it on the stage.
Yeah, 100%. They're working them now, that's for sure. At one stage they had let them go for a little bit. What about quads?
Hack squat. Okay, squats are squats, king of the exercises. Yes, I criticize people, the very few people that still squat. So on that note, when I talk about you don't see people do the forearms, you don't see the people do the abs, even though some people do, you don't see people do the squats nowadays. It's really super rare.
Are you talking about barbell squats?
Barbell squats.
I know.
I don't know.
What's going on there? No one's doing free barbell squats anymore.
No, not too many people. But I would still choose a hack squat over it. I would still choose because you can really put that load on the quads and control it down and up.
You would still choose.
Squats,
you would still choose a hack. You would still choose a hack squat over a squat.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
And especially, I promise you this. I'm not doing this as an advertisement of the New Tech as a company, but I promise you with my life, there is no better leg machine than New Tech hack press. Okay, it's between hack squats and a leg press, but you're gonna have a zero pain in your knees and a lower back, and you would be able to put that load on the quads. There's no better feeling. Look, John, I mean, squats, it's a heavy duty, it's beautiful, yeah, but you still have to have a technique, execution, and it's still, you compromise. Your body does the work. You can't really go slow and isolate the quads, right? You can't do that. You can do the slow eccentric, slow concentric. Do slow eccentric and slow concentrics on a hack squat. Oh my God.
Your legs are on fire.
Oh my God. There's nothing that compares. And what I tell people, I really want you to feel I'm taking a knife and I'm going to stab you in the quad and I'm going to keep turning around. This is the kind of pain you want to feel. Okay?
Yeah, a friend of mine who lives in Greece now, George K., he's a huge advocate of your training methods, and he took me through a 6-month period of this slow time under tension hack squat stuff, and it's the only time in my life I only ever made noise in the gym. I'm a quiet trainer, even under load, like even heavy squatting, but that sort of training style was, like you said, exactly how you described it.
So for everybody listening, right? When you unlock your knees, okay, and you start going down, prolong it for 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, okay? But make yourself shut down every other muscle group. So don't use your hamstring, don't use your glutes, don't use your lower back. Your purpose is to lower with the quads, initiate that sensation of a burning, and then try to intensify it. Okay, so normally you want to go with the less resistance and less pain. You know, as soon as you feel burning, you want to get out of the burn. No. This is when your job is to make your quad burn so intense that you can't handle it. Okay, and then lower past parallel. Okay. And then force yourself up without using hamstring and glutes and lower back.
Or momentum.
Which, yeah, and momentum. Yeah, it's really, if you really truly isolate within 3-4 reps, you can already feel crazy, stimulation.
Even if you do it with one plate aside, it still feels like hell on earth.
Oh, you can let your training partner spot you and put the more weight, and he can maybe touch it when you have that zone that you're questioning if you can go over. But just burn, more pain, more burn, until you can't handle it anymore.
Are you talking also about eccentric as well? Taking your time?
Eccentric and concentric.
That's why, you know what? That's very, again, I'm just going to say, that's very 90s. We would lift up slowly, even bicep curls, everything. And what you're talking about with quads, eccentric. It wasn't about jumping out off the ground or just spring load. It was always the movement. It was like flawless. The whole thing moved together.
Yeah. I mean, so hack squats, there's nothing like it. I love it. Yeah. And that's what people say, like, oh yeah, genetically, and I cannot make my quad. Yeah, everybody can make quads. Listen, I had no quads initially, and then when I started training them, they responded to the point that actually that 97 video, some people say like, okay, that's maybe out of balance quad, because I actually had to stop training them because they were responding so greatly. But I mastered the tolerance, pain tolerance, in the hack squats.
It's incredible.
What about sorry? Yeah, no.
To the point it.
Yeah. Look, there's a thing about training quads. It kind of like I don't know, you don't get any other feeling unless you do quads. You give it all. Quads have that feeling.
Absolutely.
There's something about quads. The rest of the body, but when you do quads well and you get that pump and you feel like you're walking out with thumpers, you feel great.
Like Tom Platt said, you feel like your life's flashing in front of your eyes.
But Tom Platt is crazy. Certified crazy.
Hammies.
What?
Hammies.
Hamstring. Yeah. I mean, for sure, leg curls and probably single leg curls. It could be anything. It can be laying, seated, standing. Like biceps concentration curls. I mean, hamstring is biceps femoris, right? I love full range. I love extending. Look, it's only knee joint movement. If you do the stiff leg deadlift, it's hip joint also. I like to do it both, but for sure, leg curl with the peak contraction at the top. I would choose standing single curl.
Standing is a good example.
I love those seated now machines that you can really prolong that peak contraction.
Yep.
But you'll choose a single leg.
Did you train your hammies separately to your quads?
Yeah, I did because before, when I did everything, you get so wasted on quads that usually your hamstring suffered. And then if you put the hamstring first, you just can't do the quads to the same level of intensity and feeling.
Yeah, I agree. I've separated them all.
Yeah, I would separate them.
Yeah, I separated them years ago, and there's a big difference. I like the standing, I like the seated, but I just love I think the lying down hammies curl, somehow that old school movement. If you find the sweet spot of what you said, eccentric and eccentric, that's for me anyway.
I like the standing cable.
You like standing?
I like standing cable or the plate loaded. Standing. Yeah. As opposed
there is a more peak contraction at the standing than laying.
Oh, there you go. Then I would be doing standing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just think about it. When you're laying down, right?
Yep.
First, not too many people go full range. And then at the top of range, nobody really have that peak contraction. And you can do this in a standing one easily.
I do more, but I will be doing more of the standing. What about glutes?
Yeah.
The hip thrust?
Yeah.
Maybe the hip thrust.
Yeah, hip thrust, of course, everybody does it nowadays. I was just,
Because everybody does it.
yeah, the glutes were a side effect of the squats and everything else. Like Lee Priest and many of us, we never went for a striated glutes, even though
They became it.
popular. Yeah.
Who are some of your most impressive quads that you got to see in your career? Like
Most impressive quad?
As a professional bodybuilder and as a person that spent so many years in the gym.
Most impressive quad.
The most impressive quads, like
Yeah.
I know that's hard to narrow down to 2 or 3 people, but
I mean, of course, Tom Platz has the best, but I haven't seen it live. I've seen it photo shoot that he was doing with Monica Brandt, but he already stopped competing. But he made his legs stupid looking again. I don't know if you remember when he was posing his legs next to Quadzilla Paul DeMeo.
oh, he was one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah. Paul DeMeo had a crazy quads, that's for sure. Branch Warren, yes. Mustafa Mohammed, one of my guys, had a kind of similar to Big Ramy, right?
Yes.
Just enormous. But quality and size and separation and striations, feathers, for sure, nobody comes close to Tom Platz.
Tom Platz.
Yeah, nobody comes close.
We had Monica Brandt on. She's a friend of yours, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. No. What was that?
We did numerous covers together.
Yeah. I saw that as well, yeah. Because I saw a post and she had written something about my good friend Milos. So she's definitely she's a lovely lady. I said glutes. Oh yeah, we said we don't. Oh yeah, we said what we said about glutes. Calves.
Donkey calf, by far.
I love the donkey calf.
Yeah.
Donkey calf.
What about frequency?
You can't
Milos?
find it though.
Listen. Okay, frequency. Like John Meadows did the calves every day, and I support that.
Yeah.
Listen, this is a workout for you guys. Anybody, if you want to try this one. Yeah. So you pick 3 different exercises, usually standing, seated, and a donkey calf. That would be ideal.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have to do 2 minutes nonstop. One, you have a 2-minute break.
Yep.
Do the second one for 2 minutes, 2-minute break, and then do the another one. So the 10-minute challenge, okay? And I don't even care amount of weight that you're going to put, okay? Full range of motion, fully stretch. I like what Ben Pakulski used to do, 2-second pause on the bottom, and then maximal. Listen, every millimeter count. So when you go up, you kind of try to go for a cramping kind of feeling, peak contraction, right? So that not that bullshit that everybody does. You go fully stretch, and then go every millimeter counts, and then lock it up. And if you can do this for 2 minutes straight, listen, it's a most beautiful feeling, because calves, if you do that, it's obviously soleus and gastros both. You do from those 3 different angles. Calves are one of those muscles that you can get pumped for days.
Days, yeah.
So whoever can do this 10-minute challenge, they should put in the comments.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I'll be
Yeah.
I'll be utilizing that. Tibialis.
I mean, nobody does it. Come on,
I just
nobody does it.
The reverse.
Yeah, I would like to say that I did it. Even when they came up with that machine,
I just thought.
I did it. I did it maybe 10 times in my life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most do.
We
John,
just
do you have any more questions before I get Milos to tell everyone where they can find him?
no, I just want to say that this jedan ode nejeći. Did I say that correctly? In Serbian.
Say it again. Say again.
Ti se jedan o neveći.
Najveći. Yeah, you didn't pronounce very good, but thank you very much. If I'm one of the
Greatest
the greatest,
Oh,
thank you.
you said it
in Serbian.
Serbian.
Yeah,
Yeah, Chris is laughing too.
yeah, far from it, but thank you. Yeah, I'm just one of the guys, and I enjoy being there.
Well, Milos, I mean, before I'm going to finish with the final statement on you, but where can people find you? Where do they go searching for Milos?
Instagram at Milos Sarcev, right? That's it. That's where you can't miss me. I pretty much have all the emails, milos.sarcv, and then just change it from iCloud.com to gmail.com to pretty much anything. But on Instagram, I pretty much.
Do you have any plans to come to Australia at all?
Yeah, do you have plans to come to Australia?
Well, yeah. Just to say, on Instagram, I try to respond to everybody. Listen,
You do well.
unless they come with some really stupid questions like how to get big, right? So kind of these kind of questions. If it's something that I can answer, and I don't know if you read my comments, I try to get engaged with. If anybody,
Yes.
gives their opinion, I get engaged. Obviously, I don't have the same opinion as everybody else. Should I come to Australia? It's been a while. Right before COVID, I was actually right there in Sydney and then Melbourne. And Ben Pakuska and I were going to go from Melbourne to Bali. And that was exactly the time when all this started.
Yes.
And we decided not to do it. And I took the flight immediately that day from Melbourne back to LA. And that was the last time. So it's probably 21.
Yes.
4
21.
years now.
I haven't been ever since. Listen, I don't kiss ass and I tell if I talk to German people, oh, I love Germany. And no, I love Australia. There is no place like so laid back, easygoing. You can stop anybody on the street and ask them for any favor, and they're going to do it. They're going to probably walk you to the place that you wanted to go, and they're going to get engaged. I mean, how can you not love this kind of attitude?
Well, me and John, we live on. It's a place called Sanssouci. It's actually a French word, Sanssouci, and it means no worries. So me and John live in a suburb called No Worries. So
What is that?
it's next to the airport, like literally on Botany Bay. So when you land at the airport, you're landing over Botany Bay. So let's just say from the airport to the city is 15 minutes. From our house to the airport, what is it, 10 minutes?
It's about 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
It's more like a coastal suburb.
If you come to Australia, you can stay with us.
I
Definitely.
used to do the frequent training camps, and we did. I did first with Andy Bell, and then later with Shane from Perth. We did actually a tour. We did Perth
Yep.
training camps, and actually sometimes we would do back to back, like for this group of people for 3 days or 5 days, and then the second group, then Sydney, Melbourne, and I went to Brisbane, Gold Coast. Yeah, and yeah, Shane is probably listening, and he's going to probably send me a text when we're going to do it. It's probably time for me to do it because I really love Australia. And listen, when I do the training camp, okay, so you understand, I don't go there to make money or, for business purposes. I go there because I know that a lot of people have me on a bucket list. They want to experience this.
They do.
Okay, usually whoever signs up for it, they're ready for crazy intensity, and I'm more than happy to give it to them. I want them to experience it. So whoever was on my training camps, maybe, and you're listening to this, you can maybe put a comment and just what you experienced.
Well, you've just
Really.
you got 2 signatures right here. Where do we sign, Milos?
Yeah,
I'm
100%.
ready to come in.
If I do it, just look for it. I usually limit to the 20 people because I can be all over the place, but 20 people can do crazy intensity. And what we did, morning workout, in between 2 workout sessions, I would do the seminar, and then we come back in the evening.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
And then there was also the challenges there. A lot of people wanted to gain like 10 pounds in 3 days, and they all had to step on a scale and do the complete protocols that I would give them. And hopefully somebody's going to explain. I don't want to talk about it. I want people to talk and let their experience.
Well,
Yeah.
bodybuilding's doing amazing here in Australia, and we've got some great athletes, and I think you'd like to see them and help them out, because I think there's some great guns that are probably looking to want to come over to America and give America a go, but I don't know. I think we sometimes think like America is out of our league sometimes, but if you see some of the talent that we've got here, it's quite incredible. So I think you'd be doing them all justice by just doing a camp here. I think you couldn't fit. You'd probably need to do more days if you're going to be having 20 people.
You got a lot of fans here.
You got a lot of fans here,
and you've got free accommodation as well.
Yeah, I did 5-day camps, but a lot of people can't really have a 5-day break from their jobs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this is what was challenging. 3 days possible?
Yeah, but I just think you should do a 3-day and a 3-day. I think you should do 2. I don't think you should just come down and do 1 3 days. Maybe give everyone, those that miss out on the first one, they come to the second one. Get it to be exciting.
Yeah, let's see.
Well, Milos, let me finish off with this. This is coming from your reel that I did a lot of research from, and it says, as one of your reels say, looking back on his career, Milos can say that he finally achieved his dreams.
Well,
and I wrote, and he's still doing this today, and also became a legend of bodybuilding. Milos, thank you so much. How do you say thank you, Chris?
Fala.
What? Fala. Fala.
Molim i drugi put. All right, guys. John, nice to meet you.
Thank you,
Chris,
Milos.
you want to come and say goodbye? Come on, Chris, jump in.
Yeah, Chris.
Thank you, Milos. Thanks for your time. Thanks for all your wisdom, and God bless you.
I realize it's 12:30.
6:30.
After midnight.
You're 12:30.
Yeah,
Milos,
12:30.
honestly, what you gave us on this podcast is priceless, and being the person you are, I'm gobsmacked and surprised and grateful. We started this 2 years ago, and like I said, you gave us all this time, and having John here as well. Like I said, we don't do this, but I'm so glad John came and added value. Chris, your countryman's here. I think it was meant to be. Milos, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. All right, guys.
God bless, man.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.